Good evening, everyone. Before we get started, I would like to recognize the passing of Urbana City Council member Chandra Bishop, who serviced this community was incredible and greatly appreciated. She really exemplified exactly what it meant to be a citizen servant. So to honor her, I'd like to have a moment of silence, please. All right, thank you. I'd like to call to order this the study session of Urbana School District 116. A roll call, please.
Member Cheryl, Member Hickson,
Here.
Member Marabou,
Here.
Member Jones,
Here.
Member Langendorf here, Vice President Baxley,
Here.
President Pulowski.
Here. We have a quorum. Are there any additions, corrections, or modifications to tonight's agenda? No. Now it's time for citizen statements. If anybody here present wishes to make a formal statement before the board, please fill out a goldenrod sheet located in the back of the room and hand it to Recording Secretary Lori Johnson. Have we received any? Okay. Calling once, calling twice. Moving on, there is a call for an executive session after tonight's meeting for the purpose of negotiations with the teachers union to talk about that amongst ourselves. There will be no action taken by the board after our executive session. The chair would then entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda as published.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Board reports. Does any board member wish to make a report this evening? Go ahead, Sherry.
If it's Tuesday, I have a report. I just wanted to convey that the past 2 weeks have been busy with many celebrations, graduations, and promotions. And what a wonderful high school graduation ceremony, an adult education ceremony, and promotions at the middle school and all the elementary schools for the fifth graders who are now going to go to the sixth grade center. I was able to attend many of them and only missed 2 of them due to the scheduling issues. Each celebration was different. At the high school, I was impressed by the poise and enthusiasm of the graduates who were celebrating an important milestone. At Adult Ed, it was evident that the graduates put in hard work that was needed to achieve their goals. The middle school graduates were ready to take on a new chapter, leaving their elementary school experiences behind. Yankee Ridge celebrated in 3 languages, and the students sang a meaningful song. Leal students recognized there are 2 retiring teachers who dedicated many years to the school, and the students spoke beautifully about their teachers. And at Dr. Williams, the teachers took the opportunity to acknowledge each student and highlight the progress that each student made this year in reading, math, citizenship, or in other ways. The principals had heartfelt wishes for their graduates and spoke sincerely to them, with words of encouragement and advice, wishing them all well as they encounter new challenges in a new environment. Congratulations to all these students and to the families and teachers who made it all possible. So with that, I want to add my opinion of something else. Tonight, I assume we will hear data about students and schools' progress this year. And even though the data is important, I continually, and I will do it again tonight, remind myself of the bigger picture. It is not only the test data on a particular date that is important, but it is also the journey that these students took to get to this point to graduate or to go on to the next level or challenge. And yes, I support the new measures and the new curriculum that has been implemented to help data improve. Reading is important, but not every student chooses the same path, has the same strengths, or develops certain skills as their peers at the same time. Test data should not be the only measurement used to determine the successes of our students, teachers, or programs.
Anyone else have a board report this evening? Go ahead, Jennifer.
John, did you get the picture? I sent John a picture to put up on the screen. I spoke at the board meeting about the last time about the sign indicating what is now the sixth grade center is sitting on the Wiley campus. Mr. Ashman said that he is in contact with some sign makers and is waiting on direction to see what should be on the sign. I would like to see the original sign that was on the Wiley building stating the school's name, the date it opened, and the board members who voted for it. Tonight I want to show how the district honored the memory of Hayes School when they renamed it for King School. This was something, the renaming was something that the community supported But there were some who were a little nostalgic about losing the name of their school. Later, when the original building was finally torn down, and it needed to be, the school incorporated the Hayes School name into a bench that sits in front of King Elementary. I always appreciated this for people who are interested in history or for the family members whose grandparents went to Hayes School. And so I guess some sort of permanent marker that indicated the history of the property and the school. I know other people don't seem all that interested in it, but I would like to see this on the grounds of Wiley. And I wasn't going to talk about this.
Can I throw in one thing? I think the plaque you mentioned is in the display case
It-
with all the other Wiley memorabilia. I'm not sure what Randy's working on, but the plaque with the dates is in the sixth grade center now.
Yes, I know, and that's great, and I'm so glad that the administration, the principal there, decided to do that. But I think that depends on the principal, and as we get down the road in history, that could change. Oh, we really need that case for a display area. We really need it for something else. So I'd like this at King. I mean, this is a long time that since we named Hayes School King School. So I'd kind of like to see that as a more permanent. It's just me, so anyway.
Add something?
Pardon me?
So the display case wasn't just at the request of the principal.
Okay.
It came out of the work from the committee as a
Mhm.
suggestion and recommendation. And so district administration, Randy and John were the ones who gathered all the items. And so I don't see those things moving at any time soon, depending on the principal, but because it was the wish of the committee that those would be stored there. So I just wanted to add that in.
And
Oh,
if
that's
there are
good.
any people who have additional memorabilia, we've been working with some of the sixth grade students and would be happy to incorporate that as well.
Okay, yeah. And I wasn't gonna, I had decided not to mention this, but since Sherry brought it up, I agree. I think that our school district does many, many great things for students, but I think that our test scores are important. And last week, we talked about the NAEP scores. And it was said, the NAEP scores were in, our NAEP scores were in the New York Times article about how scores nationwide have been going down. But they compared our score to other scores in the state, and we were the lowest. And at the board meeting, it was said that the cutoffs for this test are particularly high, that proficiency level used by NAEP is higher than what we would consider grade level proficiency. This might be pertinent if the article had referenced the actual scores, but it didn't. They merely compared how districts in Illinois did. We did less well than similar schools in our area. We did less well than all schools in the state. We were at the bottom compared to all state schools. All schools took the same test with the same high proficiency levels. We don't know what the proficiency levels of the schools are. We just know that ours are lower than everyone else's. So that comment was not relevant really to the material presented. It was also said that we don't get to choose the students who take the tests or the school or the grade level. True of all schools and students who took those tests. It was also said that this is just one day and one class and doesn't really reflect how well Urbana is doing. This is also true of all the schools. And I would not have named the schools and students who took the test in Urbana. To me, that wasn't fair. It was also said that we all know that students today come with a lot of problems and that those problems affect life and learning at school. This is also true of the other schools in the NAEP study. Are our students' lives more affected by stress than all other schools in Illinois to the extent that they can't learn as well as students in other similar districts? I have a friend who used to live in Paris, Illinois. She's a retired Urbana teacher. And the Paris Illinois schools, I guess, have not been doing very well on their standardized tests. And the residents, including the board members and administration there, have been unhappy with the district's performance. Their response was to identify 4 school districts who are doing better than they are, form a committee to visit those schools, and find out what those schools may be doing to help their students achieve better, and see if there were things that they could incorporate into the parish school curriculum or how they do things. So to me, this is something that I think we have to look into our hearts and souls and say, do we have to do something similar? And I'm glad that we are working on our curriculum and all that, and making progress is great, but just saying, well, this wasn't really indicative of where we are, it is indicative of where we are. So, that's all.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Going forward, I'd like to remind board members to keep their remarks limited to 3 minutes, like we do for citizens. Both of you guys, just try to keep it down under 3 minutes. We have a long agenda tonight. Moving on, our first study topic is a district strategic planning update.
Okay. So while John's pulling that up, we are going to play musical chairs tonight. And we have several district strategic plan facilitators who are going to give our end of the year progress made on our key performance indicators for 25-26, year 1 of our 5-year plan. We were here earlier and presented our initial key performance indicators and look forward to sharing progress. We did present this same information to our strategic steering committee on May 7th. The board is getting new data that the steering committee folks did not get, because at the time of that meeting, we were still in the middle of our map testing. So we weren't able to give final numbers. So we are excited to be able to share those this evening with the board. I do want to thank Paul and Sherry and Jennifer, who have actively participated throughout the year in many of our strategic planning sessions, either at program council, our Thursday night meetings at the middle school, or joining different small groups in our work through the steering committee sessions. So thank you. It's really important to have board members in those spaces to help hold us accountable to the work. So I will start us off with the first couple of slides. John, I think you can put the clicker over there. I'm just gonna do the first couple. We know the fast facts of our data and who we are, and who our schools are, and what we make up in for our district makeup. So we can skip this one and we can head right into, we know our mission, to create a supportive community to equip and nurture all learners to achieve success. Throughout the presentations tonight and in our next session, when we have our secondary folks come, a couple of our buildings took the task of taking our new mission and doing some mission work at their buildings this year. So we'll probably be hearing about that a little bit between tonight and next week. And we know our 4 areas, so we can go to the next slide. So this is the area in which we'll present the goal areas, as we have been: student growth first, staff development and retention, family and community as agency, and district systems and operations will close us out. As I mentioned, when you saw it is a long slide deck, but what we're asking our facilitators to do is focus on the new information, the end of the year information. So you can go to the other direction, John. The white slides that were in your power deck, your slide deck, are the initial key performance indicators. The shaded slides, or if you have color copy, that'll show up here. The orange slide is the update. So we're going to have our facilitators really focus on not spend as much time talking about the strategic actions and the action steps. We did that when we came the first time to present, because we do, as Paul mentioned, we do have several other school improvement updates this evening. So we do just want to give the highlights and make sure that we share just the end of the year data from those orange slides. So we will start with student growth and achievement. So Christina Kale Lewandowski is going to kick us off.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Christina Kale Lewandowski. Hopefully I can be heard okay out there. John, are you going to control it? Or? All right. All right, so like Dr. Ivory Tatum stated, we're going to review the orange slides because those are all the updates. And so I am in the curriculum department, and I share this goal with Jessica Bradford. She is here in spirit, and so I just wanted to let y'all know we're a team. And so we had 4 goals, and we're going to update you on those 4 goals. And so the first one is in relation to our IAR data, Illinois Assessment Readiness. And so we have the projection at the top. This is what we hope to reach when we get our scores this summer. We always get them in preliminary scores, and then you guys know in October you get the official scores to the public. And so we are, if you look at the all students, 27% of all of our students will be proficient in ELA. And then we have the priority groups, Black students 14.2%, Hispanic students 19.9%, students with IEPs 9.4%, and English learners 16.4%. So again, that is what we are projecting by looking at the data. And just a reminder to everyone is that this is the first year we'll receive results with the new performance scales. So that's very important to note. So this is, we'll have our second data point pretty much. And so one of the ways we track this, track our progress, is by using NWEA MAP. And what that does, it provides us a projection of how we may perform on IAR. And there's been a lot of studies, and there's a strong correlation. And so if we take a look at the evidence data used for reading, students performing at 41% and above, all 47%. So that is according to our MAP data. This is how our students performed. Our Black students at 36%, Hispanic students 36%, students with IEPs 19%, English learners 27%. And using that data, IAR projects that this is how we'll perform on NWEA projects this is how we'll perform on IAR. All students will be at 20.5%, Black students at 10%, Hispanic at 11.1%, students with IEPs 4%, English learners at 5.4%. And so you might be asking yourself, how close are those projections? They are really close, maybe 5 to 10% off for maybe a grade level, but it's pretty close when the real results come in. So then we go to the next slide, the next orange slide, and that will be how will we do in math. And so we're projecting, we had projected all students would be at 21.3% when we get our IAR final results. And I won't read the rest. You can just read how our priority groups will perform. Let's get to the evidence here. At the bottom, the data showed that all math, 41%. Black students were at 28%, Hispanic 34%, students with IEPs 14%, and EL students 33%. And what will we be, how will we be performing? The projections say all students will be at 12.6%. Again, this is for math. Black students 2.6, Hispanic 7.9, students with IEP 6.9, and ELL 6.3%. Okay, and we'll go to the next one, the next results, orange slide. And so we also have goals for our Black students, and this is in the area of reading. And so the results show that when we look at the median percentile, our third graders performed at the 22nd, sixth graders at the 25th, and our ninth graders at the 38th percentile. And then we'll go to the last one, which will be math. For our black students, the results show third grade at the 20th percentile, sixth grade at the 15th, and ninth graders at the 26th percentile. And those are the academic goals. And I'm going to pass this on to the next. Oh, I forgot I have one more slide. Sorry about that. This one more slide is really a slide to just summarize everything. And so the problem is summarized there. We know we have to fix the achievement gap between our students. So we have our goal there, and we just went over our goals. And strategies are listed there. We want to use a multifaceted approach, such as really looking at our Tier 1, looking at how we're using MTSS, multi-tiered students of support, because what we know is that students are on a continuum. I look at it like a diamond, and students can be knowledgeable in this area, need support in this area, and so on. And so, and this includes students who need enrichment also. It's not just students who may not be strong in a certain area. All our students need to achieve high and show high growth. And I'm done. Thank you very much. Go to the next one. Culture and climate.
All right, good afternoon, and thank you for having me. I'm Chastity Beckless. I'm the Director of Equity and School Improvement. And so I was overseeing the culture and climate goals this year. I think Member Hickson popped into some of my sessions this year, and so I'm just sharing out how we kind of ended the year. So one of our big goals was to implement interventions for our students who were experiencing behavioral challenges. And so we wanted to decrease our referrals for Black students and students with IEPs. And so Beth Ladd will come up here. We had a very similar goal because, as you all know, we were cited by ISB for our disproportionality for our Black students. And then also new this year was for our students with IEPs. And so in panorama incident referrals, so these are just referrals. This is not like out of school suspensions. That was like a different presentation we showed with secondary, and they'll share some of that data in 2 weeks as well. But we were able to decrease our incident referrals for our Black students by 1.3%, and for our students with IEPs by 7.2%. And I believe that Beth has an update on that number as well, closing out the year. Then we had our second goal in culture and climate, really focused around sense of belonging. And so we know that students who have a stronger sense of belonging and feel positive about coming to school or being in their educational spaces, they are less likely to have behavioral needs, and or the adults in the space are able to address them appropriately. So we increased by 15% our belonging for our staff, and then for our students, we increased by 2%. And this was all about our systems that we have in place. So our multi-tiered systems of support for our students. We wanted to ensure that not only are we using the system, but we're using the system effectively, where our services at the Tier 3 level, that we have plans in place for our students, and that can be found in our platform called Panorama. And this helps too with teachers who are progress monitoring. It helps with us thinking about what supports we may need, but also as students transition from one building to the next. And so at the end of this year, the total number of students who received or have completed Tier 3 behavior support plans was 43% of students needing that Tier 3. So in our Panorama platform, it will kind of code students as critical. 43% of the students needing or identified as critical in behavior had an intervention plan. And then when we looked for last year, for this year, the increase was 49% of students needing that plan had the intervention plan. So we did grow. We have more work to do in that area. And then we also noticed that we had an increase of plans, which may seem like a negative, but really a positive with our staff members really following the MTSS process and ensuring that our students are getting some sort of support and identifying them as well for needing that support. So some of our celebrations, we have a stronger MTSS like responsiveness from our staff, our buildings. We have improved documentation to help kind of carry on and support our students. We have increased system and identification awareness, and so you'll see this in some of people's school improvement plan too. We kind of talk about what are our decision rules, how many referrals will it take for a student to get like recommended. Some of our reflections were our 2026 data was below our KPI, right? And so we had conversations in our group about how do we really monitor what's important on both our student outcomes, but also adult practices or PD that will help support this as well. Identified students increased, which I mentioned, is actually, in my opinion, something that is beneficial because we're identifying students and supporting them along the way. Of course, overall, we want to have Tier 1 systems, resources, and processes that decrease that student identification. And then we still have students who remain unsupported. So thinking about our MTSS system, if there are, let's just say 30 kids over a school year who may need those services, are we able to provide services for 30 children, right? And so we have to look at our services, where can we go back and put more into our Tier 1, potentially our Tier 2, and who services that, so that we have a smaller number, ideally below 10%, who are within our Tier 3 services. Sorry, this is just the data showing how many plans we had, how many were up to date, and how many were on track. Any questions for me?
Good evening. Beth Ladd, Executive Director of Student Services for Urbana. And we are going to take a look at our data from the lens of student services and students who receive IEP or special education services in our district. And so as you can see by looking at our fall to spring data, we did not meet our desired outcome of students increasing the number of students who met or exceeded their projected math growth targets. We spent a great deal of time within all of our groups talking about two different needs within this area, making sure that we have truly specialized instruction or really research-based curriculum and strategies that we're using with our students. And so that is a goal for us moving forward. And also being able to measure our data throughout the year and not just relying on our map 3 times a year. And so our next action item is to really articulate our progress monitoring expectations. So we did take this extremely seriously in terms of our data and making sure that we're moving in the right direction with our strategies. We felt we did a lot of work this year as a department with our special education staff on instructional strategies and look forward to some adoption of really high quality materials that will support our specialized instruction. And then Chastity mentioned really working to decrease our amount of exclusionary practices or suspension days for our students across the board, specifically our Black and Brown students and our students with IEPs. We were on track to meet this goal, and our data was showing that we were going to meet this goal, and then we did not when we looked at the end of year data. And so we did a lot of work across our buildings, across our administrative teams on aligning our decision making and really utilizing each other as we're making decisions about students that potentially need to be excluded for a day or two. As Dr. Ivory Tatum and I have spoken about the work that came out of our groups this year, we really want to do a lot more work in making sure our staff are trauma informed and really leaning into what that means from an educational standpoint in my classroom and how do I deal with what I'm seeing, also maintain my learning environment and have the supports necessary to support our students. Again, we were on track to meet this goal and just didn't get there, but did a lot of hard work across all of our buildings for this one. Two areas that came out of many of the discussions we've had as a strategic group for student services is making sure that we have strong supports in place in terms of what it means from a general education teacher standpoint to have a student with special needs in my classroom, as well as making sure we're inclusive of our students who receive 504 services. And so while that was not reflective in our previous goals and in our targeted activities for this next year, they are conversations we keep having and know that that is a huge impact to meeting our goal categories. Thank you.
Quick question. I'm sorry
Absolutely.
to put you on the spot.
No, you're
and
fine.
I should have probably mentioned this when I first saw your goal when you first presented it.
Yeah.
But if there's like a big change, say in either the student population or like the number of students on IEPs, if you're measuring absolute numbers of
We're measuring percentages.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah, we are, and I just am giving you the absolute numbers.
okay, that's cool.
Yep, but our goal is an overall decrease by percentage.
Gotcha. All right,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep, great question. Thanks, Paul.
Good evening. I'm Lupe Ricconi. I'm the Director of Multilingual Programs. My partner in this work, Dr. Wiemeld, unfortunately could not be here tonight, but he asked me to share this information for both of us. So what we did for tonight was we were able to update the data that you had received from May 7th, or from the May meeting, to show the growth that was made for our multilingual learners. So this data is looking at any student in the district that is identified as a multilingual learner at any of our kindergarten through 12 buildings. So as you can see, for our goal overall is that by 2030, we are showing 20% growth overall. From fall to spring this year, you can see that we've actually already met that. So as a baseline, we're hoping that we will continue to meet our annual growth of 4% for all of these areas as well. So for our multilingual learners in math, you can see that they had 30% of the students had met their growth. For MAP and English, approximately 48% of the students had met their growth goal as well. For the Spanish reading, this MAP is only administered at Yankee Ridge, and for students within the dual language program at the 6th through 8th grade level. The MAP in Spanish is not offered at the high school level, so this measure is just students in the dual language program kindergarten through 8th grade. You can see that that was 21% growth, which did still meet our overall growth goal. That is an area that we want to see increase even more in the future. Doing this through ongoing professional development, work with our building principals, our CITs, and our Tier 1 and Tier 3 interventionists to really kind of help this move along. That's the only new information that I have for multilingual. Is there any questions for me?
Good evening, everybody. Jesse Guzman, principal at Urbana High School. And so my goal is our graduation rate and where we are landing with that. And the 3 areas that we worked on this year are more of our long-term goals, highly focused on our freshman group. And so our progress was centered around AVID, 9th grade teaming, and our college and career pathways. With that, we either achieved these action steps or came pretty close to it. With AVID, we completed our site team goals. For our students in AVID 9 and 10, we have 97% enrolled in rigorous courses or the most rigorous courses available. The 2 students that are not are from the first year of implementation, and so we're really working with that first year's group that will be juniors next year to make sure that they are finding success in their own unique way. With that, after doing our SIT, our AVID evaluation for this year, we did come out as certified, so we did achieve that action step. For 9th grade teaming, we are on track for doing it at the complete grade level for next year, having 3 teams, really focusing in on doing solid Tier 1, really looking to identify our kids who need Tier 2 or Tier 3 services with that. We have the framework in place. And looking at our early data, as we just finished last week, and we still have some students finishing finals, at the freshman level, we are anticipating about 85% on track for graduation, according to the state's criteria for that freshman year. And then we are looking at 55% of students on team being in attendance for 90% or more of the school year. And all year, our students on team have tracked better than our students who were not in a team this year. And so next year, all our students will be on a team. Evidence for our college and career pathways. We were going to do our students in Zello doing career cluster and the match fit survey. Our goal was to get 100%. We got 93% of them to do that in our Academy 9 advisory period. And then our PACE framework has been updated. It is much more rigorous. You heard our presentation, I think the last time when I was here, the last time we met, our CT programming and how that's expanding even down to 6th grade through 12th grade. So that is really becoming more solid, and proud of the work that we're doing not only at the high school, but at a district level. And so now where are we actually landing when we are looking at, for this year, increasing it by 1% overall? As I said at the graduation ceremony, we have the largest class graduating in 5+ years. And so the average graduating class is about 235 to 240. This year it was 268. This was not a bubble group. This was not a group that was a larger enrollment. And so we are excited to see, we are certainly anticipating more than the 1% we were going for that. And by the end of the summer, we actually anticipate 3 or 4 more students completing summer school. And so our actual graduation rate will hopefully be a little bit higher once summer school finishes. So we're looking at about 271 when that's all said and done. But again, the final number won't come out till early in the fall once the state determines our actual cohort for our students who actually started with us as freshmen, and to see everybody who's accounted for, to see students we actually lost, where they went to. And so we'll have a final number probably in late August for that once we release that. But at this point, based off of that initial number, we're looking at exceeding that. And so with that, I will be here again next week, or the next time we meet. So fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, we'll go into more details about what we're doing in the building overall as a whole to help push and to that next level and make sure our students are getting across that pathway, even if when they're not freshmen, or sophomore, juniors, and seniors. So I'll leave
Question.
it.
Does your graduation number include the students who graduated from Tiger Academy who completed?
Yes,
Okay. And what about adult education?
same as, yes,
Because they were
because,
participate in your graduation.
yes.
Okay. And ready? Were there-
Yes, if they are registered in Urbana, they
Okay.
do graduate with an Urbana diploma.
Terrific. Thank you.
Yep.
And next, we're gonna make a change instead of going to the recruitment and retention section, because Angie and her counterpart have a full HR recruitment and retention report to share later. So we're gonna give them a little more time, and there is some duplication in those slides. So we're gonna go past the strand 2 and go right to strand 3. So I'm going to invite Dr. Nance and Mrs. Webster for our Family and Community as Agency area. We're saving time where we can.
All right, good evening. All right, so okay. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about supporting family engagement, and as Dr. Ivy Tatum stated, we're going to kind of skip through to the update portion of our goals. So our goal 3A was attendance data and district required family engagement events for this year compared to last school year. We did hold a family neighborhood night on April 22nd, 2026 out at the Sunny Crest parking lot. It was very well attended with over 100 people, including families and community members. We also are looking at a sample attendance monitoring form for school attendance review teams to complete for chronically absent students, which will be finalized next school year, 2026-2027. So we also are participating in the Every Student Every Day campaign with the Champaign County Community Coalition to raise awareness and address student absenteeism in Champaign and Urbana schools. So just to add a little bit of information, I know the last time that I was here with you all, I shared, and actually it was you that asked the question, and I shared that it would be kind of like an academic block party, and that's exactly what it was. It was a lot of fun. We got a lot of positive feedback from community members and our youth that came out. We had live music, popcorn. I mean, it just was a great time, and we had a lot of different academic stations set up to engage families in their own spaces where they were comfortable. So it was a great event, and we're hoping to continue. We will have some more scheduled neighborhood nights next year. And then also to speak to the Every Student Every Day campaign, one of the things that I was excited to share the last time was that I would be remaking the song that was the AI version of Every Student Every Day. And I got a chance to do just that. So our song is complete. I do have a version of the song where there are 2 verses, and then I'm also joined by some children, some young friends who have also completed a video and a song with me. So I'm excited to at some point share that with you all.
Good evening. I'm Deanne Webster, Director of Family Engagement and Student Supports, and the video that Dr. Nance just mentioned will be debuted in the fall. It's going to be our kickoff to get everybody excited about coming back to school with students in it, and an upbeat version. I'm going to share an overview of our data. One of our other goals was for schools to consistently track their required family engagement events, and we did just that. Each school was asked to keep attendance, so we were able to compare last school year with this school year's of the attendance at each of the events. We saw lots of highs and lows and growth in the number, because the problem that we had in 24-25 is that all schools were not tracking their data the same. Some schools were counting a family as one. Other people were counting each member of the family. So we made sure that this year, to make sure that the data was comparable across the board, that everybody counted each member of the family, because that gives you an idea of how many people were there. So all the schools had the same sign-in sheet. They submitted them to me. They calculated them. I would put them in a spreadsheet each month, share it with them, and show them their growth from last year to this year. And all schools were asked to have their events in the same month, again, so we can make it comparable, and we really try to schedule our events in months around events. So we cut off family engagement events in March because baseball, softball, all kinds of activities start in April, and we don't want to compete with those activities that are an important part of our children's experiences as well. So our first event was Curriculum Night. The data is on the screen for that. Our second required family engagement event that all schools need to hold was Family Reading Night. We saw great gains at King, at Leal, at Thomas Paine. Yankee Ridge was about the same. Early Childhood had a slight dip. And then the 6th grade center, this was their very first year. So next year we will have some comparative data for the 6th grade center because they are brand new. Math and Science Night was our next night. Yankee Ridge had a huge increase of 271. Urbana Early Childhood did an amazing job of increasing their numbers by 118, and some of the other schools had highs and lows, and in discussing them with them, you just can't predict when people are going to come. They send things home in backpacks, they put stickers on children, they put it in Class Dojo, in Parent Square, and we just really try to work with the parents to find times that meet everyone's schedules. SEL Night was our other event. We had a great turnout again at Early Childhood. They also pair that with their kindergarten prom. So that is the one that I can definitely tell you exactly why it was so high. They pair it with their kindergarten prom every year, and then they tie it with Social Emotional Learning Standards. It's a very cute event, and they have a great turnout every year. Our attendance data, we started out extremely strong. Our attendance goal was to lower our chronic absenteeism rate from 39% to 34%. Unfortunately, we were not successful, but we will continue to have a growth mindset and say we are just not successful yet. So in August, we had a wonderful chronic absenteeism rate of 19, September 26, and then it started to creep back up. And when children, we had lots of illnesses this year, and it is what it is that we cannot control illnesses, and we do tell people if you have a fever or vomiting or things that can be contagious, please stay home and take care of yourself. So we did see a rise in our chronic absenteeism rate around November and December. And then when we moved up to January, February was a really cold month of 39%, and then we ended at 39%. We could not get lower than that. The schools did everything they could. They had incentives, they had breakfasts, they talked to families, SEAAs, which are student engagement attendance advocates, did home visits, we had videos, and we will continue to work on it because some things are beyond our control. But our main thing was to focus on the importance of school, every student, every day mattering, and even making sure that we check on them, even if they're sick. We just want to make sure we know where they are. And we had those conversations with parents of, we just want to make sure that your children are safe, and if there's anything that we can do for them to ensure that they get to school every day. So we've done lots of different incentives, and our plan is to continue to increase those over next school year. That's all we have. Any questions for us?
Is there anything else that the district can provide for those parents who are having difficulty with getting their students to school?
The only thing that we work with the families on is transportation, and we do offer bus tokens because we get donations from a wide variety of philanthropists in the community. So bus tokens are one thing that we give, and sometimes the families are close enough, but that transportation honestly is the #1 concern that we hear, especially when it starts to get cold. So sometimes the bus tokens don't work if families have younger children that they don't want to bundle up and take out, but transportation is one of the main reasons that we receive for absenteeism.
Because most children who live less than a mile and a half, they have to walk to school.
Correct.
So if it's bad weather, it's difficult to get there.
Correct.
So.
So I think you guys have already heard from us multiple times throughout the year, so we're not going to rehash, but just a reminder, over the course of this past year, we've implemented Parent Square, a new parent communication system. We've implemented a new doc access accessibility system, which I think is on the website as of this morning.
The new website, so no one will see it yet.
And then we've purchased and started migrating a new website. And Catherine's going to talk a little bit about our numbers, and then we have some exciting show and tell after that.
So we started Parent Square with a few pilot schools, and launched it district-wide in January, so since January, and these numbers are from early May. We had 13% of our families that were using the app, which is low, but we had 0% of our families using an app before, so we see that as growth. 1,700 of our families have logged into the Parent Square platform and have selected how they want to receive the information from us, which if they have a choice, we feel like they're going to read it because they're getting it how they want to get it, whether that's through the app or through a text message or through an email. No matter what, our families are still getting the information from us, and our bounce back rate is almost zero. And the amount of people who have opted out, we have 17 right now, 17 families who have opted out. That's down significantly from our previous platform. So we still see that as growth. And as we head into the fall, we'll contact them and see, why they opted out, or if there's anything that we can do so that they can get the information they need from us. A lot of times they don't even know that they did that. They hit a button that says unsubscribe when they're scrolling through and they don't mean to. So we have the opportunity to recoup those families. 2,600 of our families, or of our guardians from Skyward, have registered their account. And so we'll continue into the fall kind of finding out the best way to communicate with our families and how to get them to engage with the app, because once they're in it, the way they're receiving the information and learning about what's going on in our schools has increased. It's just meeting them where they're at. And so we'll be at back to school events, and we'll be setting up tables at different schools as the year starts.
So as we were just talking about Parent Square there, I did not get logged in as you, but this is my Parent Square, and you can see the posts a lot more feature-rich, easy to read, engaging, and then parents will get those via the web if they want, through the app, or sent through other notifications. Did you want to touch on anything else in the post? Sorry, I didn't get logged in.
No, one
as you.
area of growth that I am working on with our Parent Square customer service reps is how to help with communication fatigue. That is something that we've heard a little bit about since we've launched Parent Square, only because I think we have 5 or 6 platforms where information is coming, and now everything's coming through one platform, and that's very noticeable. And so working with principals, working with schools to kind of make sure we're sending information more on a schedule and not overwhelming our families with the information we're sending. There's a fine line, right, between giving them the information they need and want, and also giving them too much information. So I think that's kind of what we're working on as we head into the fall.
So we have one more exciting thing to show you, which I will hopefully get pulled up here. And I want to give Catherine a lot of credit as we're looking at this. We started the web migration process 3 months ago, and Catherine has been putting in a Herculean amount of effort to they migrated all of our content, but it kind of just dropped it there. And so Catherine's been really working diligently and making it look really nice and feature rich. And so I'll scroll if you want to.
So the new website is under the same company as Parent Square. It's Smart Sites, and so everything integrates and feeds into it. They talk to each other really well, and it's mobile friendly. And most of our families are using their cell phones to look at our website, and our current site was not mobile friendly. So this is part of that, communicating with our families, giving them the information they need where they need it. And so our goal is to launch the websites and the school sites in July, and so that they're ready for when our families come back.
So, and this isn't live yet. That's why there's no URL at the top. It's a secret. Do you guys have any questions?
Oh, it looks great.
Mine's gonna be really short because I did forget about this. Sorry. I have met with a lot of the principals or assistant principals, and also some key members of the staff from the building to discuss safety, building needs, energy management, anything like that. The things we were really focused on was to figure out a timeline to do everything. So we focused on stuff that was going to be 1 to 2 to 3 years out, 3 to 5, and then 5 to 10. Let's see. Did this move, John? No. That's not me. So we're looking into a lot of programming needs, operational needs, and just stuff that needed what's that? Yeah, improvements and immediate attention, as well as a long term. So I've got all that information gathered up and starting to put it into priorities for everybody, and then I'll share that back out with the groups that I met with, and we'll discuss it hopefully one more time, and then I'll present it to you guys again, see what we have. Any questions?
This was kind of done in collaboration with the consultants we hired, right? To survey the high school and to kind of figure out what the building needs are and that kind of stuff.
That's a separate.
That's a separate
so yeah,
process.
BLDD will come next week with their presentation. So what Randy shared here is the work he's done to engage all the different.
Yeah, that wasn't with BLDD.
Yeah, so
Oh, okay.
BLDD will be coming back next week.
Okay.
2 weeks.
So unfortunately, you guys get to hear from me twice tonight. So I'm sorry that you don't get to put them together like Angie's. But so so our goals were to implement a priority-based resource allocation process to acknowledge the different priority groups because we had the low income, and so then we were having conversations in our strategic plan group of like what are other priority groups that we need to focus on. And so that was something that we worked through the winter, was establish a finance committee that's also going to be looking, eventually it'll kind of morph into having other conversations within the finance committee, but this was an opportunity to kind of meet together, look at evidence-based funding documents and establish those criteria and priority groups. And so the team focused on ELL, special ed, and homeless. And so this summer we were able to put in an ELL indicator as well for our budgets for our buildings. And so those were some things that we were able to kind of implement, and our priorities and our goals look a little bit different, but it was a really good opportunity to kind of look at that process and see how we can make it more equitable for all students. Any questions on that one? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Marianne.
Okay, that is all we have for you in regard to the strategic plan update. Are there any other overarching questions that anybody had that they didn't get to answer during that priority area? Otherwise, I think we'll move on. Thank you. Thank you to all of our facilitators. And I should have, when I thanked the board earlier, I also should have thanked the large number of teachers and support staff and parents and community folks who also engaged through this process with us this year. Our program council meetings were really rich discussions with our teacher leaders, and we had some very committed parents who came to every single session that we had at the middle school. And so next year we're going to look at the way we delivered that information. I know the attendance at those Thursday meetings weren't as well high as we wanted them to be. So we're going to kind of look at the structure of how we're sharing that information and being transparent about our goals and progress throughout the year for next year. So there might be a little bit of a change, but I did want to thank everyone who was really committed to the process this year. So thank you all. And I think we can move
Yeah. 8.2 are end of year school improvement updates.
Okay. Which school is up first?
Well, on the agenda is Dr. Williams.
All
but I
right.
don't know,
But I'm just here to brag on everybody just quickly because not too often do we get to sit here and brag on our buildings, our principals, our school improvement teams. And so I wanted to take the time. Today we have all of our elementary schools, and we also have Gerber here today, and just overseeing school improvement last year and kind of starting a new structure and changing lots of things and adding spreadsheets and Canva presentations that everybody really loves. I just appreciate all of you for all your hard work. Just looking in the audience today too, and seeing how many SIP members are here with their building leaders too, just really encourages me and makes me feel very appreciative for all of the work. You know, all the emails I send you and the things that I make you do. I appreciate you all for your hard work. We have school improvement planning days this Thursday and Friday that we are excited about. 100% of our schools shared their drafts on time. We had really strong goals. Last year was the implementation of SMART and SMARTY goals. And so there was some, increase in expectations and a lot of back and forth with feedback. And this year too, they continue to work hard and create those SMART and SMARTY goals so that we're capturing all of our students and our students who need that additional support as well, and what adult practices and support for our adults we need in order to meet their outcomes. And so this year we're really leaning into that more in our school improvement days and our PD planning. And so I'm just proud of you all. I just wanted to say that in front of everybody before our first school comes up in DPW.
Good evening. We are here proud to represent Dr. Williams Elementary School. We are grateful to our staff and our school improvement leadership team, as well as all of our staff in the school who are the ones on the ground level, making sure that this work is happening. They're working with the students daily. And so while we're here representing the school, we want to make sure to acknowledge all of their efforts because they are really the ones making sure that these things are happening on a daily basis. This is just an overview. It's a mind map, and so it gives you all of the priority goals that we focused on this year through the district's implementation of CHAMPS, or the STOIC framework, the implementation of 7 Mindsets as our new SEL curriculum, and our continued implementation of PBIS, which aligns with our culture and climate goal, as well as our attendance goal. And then we were able to bring in AVID, which we were very excited about this school year, with 5th grade and one of our 4th grade classrooms. And we paired that with our Urbana School District 116 instructional framework to support both our literacy and math goals. In order to provide an update, we were happy to come and share a winter update with you as a part of being a designated school through Illinois Empower. So our update is really coming more from winter to spring, because we were able to provide that update earlier, I believe in February. One of the major key takeaways that we've considered as we think about what is improving outcomes for literacy at our school and within our district overall is the implementation of core knowledge language arts, or CKLA. Having the opportunity to utilize the CKLA coach, Becca Pate, throughout this year, not only for professional development after school, but as well as through PLC coaching, modeling, observing, and giving staff feedback has been critical to the implementation happening with fidelity, as well as ensuring that staff understood the process of implementing the curriculum. You can read a curriculum guide, but really understanding what is needed, how to bring in those additional engagement strategies, going beyond the text, was something, as Becca calls it, adding your sparkle, was very helpful for us to do, because it did take us just going beyond the text and thinking about what we were going to do. As I mentioned on the previous slide, we were able to implement AVID in 5th grade, as well as one of our 4th grade classrooms. If we think about AVID and you say, well, what is that? It is literally best practice for teaching and learning happening in your classroom. So while we were really focused on instructional strategies, these teams were looking at making sure that they were adding in multiple engagement strategies, callbacks, really taking the learning into a focus of collaboration while incorporating Wicker, which is writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, as well as reading. Our 5th grade teams did an amazing job of really helping our students become organized. We were excited at the number of students who applied to continue with AVID at the 6th grade center, really having that strong foundation. So as our goal is not only to prepare the students for the next level, it's really to get them prepared for colleges and careers, and we are overjoyed at the number of our students who were able to apply for that program and continue that work. One of the shifts that we really focused on this year was, because our co-teachers are not able to co-teach in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, we wanted to target intervention. So with a strong core curriculum, we then have to think about how can we support Tier 2. And our focus with that was at our intermediate levels of 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. So our co-teachers and curriculum implementation teacher were able to pull students for intervention that were in the yellow or average band, or the orange or low average performance bands, in order to provide targeted intervention. We implemented a strategy called RACES for us to continue to work on developing students' writing skills, because one of the major shifts within IAR was there has always been an extended response, but now it's worth 50% of their score. And so we wanted to prepare those students as much as possible to be able to have success on the assessment. When we looked at the students that we were working with and implementing it, we saw a huge amount of growth in not only what they were able to respond whenever they were doing their extended response, but the quality of those responses. So not just more words in the text box, but actually really comparing and contrasting the text, which is always one of the things that students are asked to do. While looking at our actual academic data, we were not able to meet our goal of 60% of our students meeting their growth projection. Our growth median was at the 52nd percentile as a school, which was a 10% increase from the winter, and we had 53% of our students who met their projected growth in literacy, which was a 10% increase from the winter. And in the winter, we had an increase from the fall. So we're continuing to make growth. Unfortunately, we were not able to hit the target that we were focused on. We are planning to continue to utilize high leverage teaching strategies in our classrooms to ensure that not only are our students experiencing a quality curriculum, but we are engaging them in a meaningful way, because that is the next shift, right? We've had this curriculum for 2 years, but we also have to think about how do we make this meaningful and important to our students so that they can have text-to-self connections and really dive deeper into their ability to talk about a text, analyze a text, go back and use 2-column notes in order to annotate the text and find text evidence within their work. Additionally, we focus in math on the same goal of 60% of our students meeting their projected growth. Some of the things that we were able to do was to continue to implement illustrative math, which is our approved curriculum. We had an opportunity as a school to utilize our Illinois Empower funds to have an illustrative math coach, which was our first opportunity since we've had the curriculum to have a coach from illustrative math come into the school. That process started with walkthroughs and targeted feedback, and followed by immediate professional development based on those walkthroughs. The staff in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade were then able to go through and adjust pacing, utilize checkpoints, and small group center-based instruction in order to close some of the skill gaps that they were seeing. So not only were we collecting those daily exit tickets and using that to inform how we would adjust our instruction, but within each unit, there's a checkpoint where you can pause your instruction and really differentiate the instruction you're providing to the students overall. And having that process to work through that with her was extremely successful. Every time she came, the staff were grateful and appreciative, and they wanted to know if she could continue to come back. The state did allow some additional funding and overages, and we were actually able to invite her back in the spring for 2 more sessions with each grade level. They were able to determine non-negotiables, really set up the plan and path of success to ensure that our implementation of the curriculum is aligned with the work that they've done this year. And they were able to record that so that if there's turnover, we can go in with that plan of moving with success with the adult practices in order to ensure that our students are getting the most out of the curriculum. To be very fair and transparent, we do see gaps within the curriculum, so we also need to think about how can we supplement opportunities for students to continue to increase those skills when we are doing differentiated instruction. And then additionally, our instructional strategy for math was focused on non-linguistic representation, and we continue to implement AVID both at 4th and 5th grade. Making sure to create opportunities, one of the biggest takeaways that we had within that professional development was our students at the intermediate level thrived off center work, and we have to continue to ensure they have those opportunities to create non-linguistic representations to build and construct and make meaning of what they're being asked to do, and not only be asked to do it on pencil and paper. So that was a major success and shift from the work that we did throughout the year. As we look at our MAP growth, our overall growth median was at the 43rd percentile, much lower than what we had hoped it would be, which was a 7% increase from the winter. And 45% of our students met their projected growth, which was an 8% increase from the winter. This was not as high, which is why I was very transparent on the previous slide, saying we do recognize that we need to continue to supplement our curriculum because we need to find where those gaps are and continue to differentiate the instruction in order to increase the skills for our students. Making sure that they have regular fluency practice is going to be a critical component, as well as using those checkpoints to provide that targeted instruction and small group learning opportunities for our students. I'd already covered the non-negotiables. Sometimes I talk ahead, so I think I've covered everything on this. One of the biggest things that we really focused on also was making sure that as you collect the daily exit tickets or cool downs, that we use that to inform how we can reteach the next day before we continue to move on, whether that's through a mini lesson with a larger group of students or some targeted small group instruction, which is like a traditional model with then 4 or 5 students at a small table. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Hightower.
All right, good evening. I'm just going to talk a little bit about our culture and climate goal, which was to decrease the number of referrals for physical contact overall, 15%, and then additionally with our African American or Black males by 20%. We came in, I don't remember, but in the winter, I don't know if it was January, we kind of talked about it, and we're already kind of hitting close to that number. And what we wanted to get to, and we didn't hit the number that we wanted. We had an increase instead of decreasing the number of referrals for physical contact. And so things that we're already starting to think about for next year is how do we take a deeper dive in looking at those students who may have those situations happen, and how can we get ahead of it. And so I've already talked about conflict resolution, something we need to work on with students. Understanding when students need to be put into a student academic instructional group, SIEG group, but then also looking at our supervision and intentional planning, taking a look at our lunch schedules and how can we open that up to provide more supervision without having back-to-back lunch periods as well too. Continue with PBIS implementation and 7 mindsets and CHAMPS as well. We did a real good job implementing CHAMPS within our classrooms, but now how can we take that a little further and ensuring that students know the expectations and what's required of them in each space that they travel throughout the day. And then also increasing how we host our community meetings by grade levels and having focused LCL targets and goals for each grade level. So really bringing the data to students to say, hey, here's what's happening in our school. How can we continue to improve on the things that we're seeing, and what are some tools that we need to provide to you as educators to help increase or decrease the number of physical contacts that we're seeing in our building. If you go on to the next slide there, it just kind of shows you the number of incidents in the fall as well as the spring that is on there, and then overall for the school year. And so instead of reaching the 205, it actually went up to about 304, and then for Black males, 104 actually went to 203. So like I said, was an increase in both those numbers. And so, but our plan is really to take a deeper dive in the why, but then also that intentional teaching and planning. Like we have to work better so students are using their words to solve conflict and not trying to push or shove or hit when we have problems arise.
All right, my turn. Hi, everybody. My name is Chad Musselman. I'm one of the assistant principals at Dr. Williams, and I'm here to talk to you about our attendance goal. By the end of the 2025-2026 academic year, our school will reduce chronic absenteeism rate by 14% from 123 to 77 students. Additionally, DPW will reduce the chronic absenteeism rate for Black males by 22% from 50 to 39. We have a marvelous SEAA at Dr. Williams Elementary School, Miss Melissa Watson, and she's extremely creative and makes sure that attendance not only is on the forefront of all of our students and all of our families' minds, but just to continually, day by day in our school, to continue to reinforce the importance of attendance at school. And if you think about it, if we can't get them in the door, we don't really have much math or literacy to worry about if we can't get them in the door. So it is important. She does all kinds of creative things. One thing that all students who are kind of on our watch list for attendance, they do enter into SAIG groups with Miss Watson, who meet at lunch or other times during the day if we can find gaps in their schedules. And those students talk to Miss Watson. They talk about priorities of attendance, priorities of school, priorities of what we do when we're at school. And the students also have the ability to graduate out of the SAIG groups as well if they show improvements in their attendance, et cetera. But they also know that if they slip up again with their attendance, Miss Watson's going to come knocking on their door looking for them. We do Other things we do is Miss Watson's very good at communicating. She likes to send out newsletters to both families and teachers on what our attendance trends are, what sort of priorities we have coming up, and what sort of activities we have coming up to help with our attendance. Something simple that she kind of implemented for teachers, especially for us, communication's very, very important. If teachers are outreaching to families, that's a double win. It's a positive communication from teachers to families to build a relationship, but also it's a double win because we're focusing on the importance of attendance and getting to school and how much we want our students at school. She also had this game called Attendance-opoly. And what she did is she made a competition between all of the different classes in our school, and she made a huge attendance board. It looked like a Monopoly board, and every week we'd have a different winner. Well, maybe not a different winner. We have repeat winners at Attendance-opoly. So it did make a competition between all of the students and classes in the school, and that's something that the kids really, really have fun with, and we really try to promote within the school. Just another layer of what we're trying to do to get kids in the building. Out of the blue celebration, it's exactly what it sounds like, out of the blue, just off the top of her head. If Miss Watson saw that there might be a class down the hall in 4th grade that has 100% attendance for this day, we're going to have an out of the blue celebration right there. We're going to stop everything we're doing, we're celebrating, and we are making sure that these students know the importance of what they just accomplished. And it's a catching thing. We did have a lot of classrooms that did have 100% attendance, and really we're trying to get an out of blue celebration from Ms. Watson. We got VIP lunch tables. We set up lunch tables with fancy tablecloths and everything across the middle of our multi-purpose room during lunch. We have all kinds of snacks and drinks at those tables, and kids that have been showing an increase in attendance. We have a big, what's the word I'm looking for? One of those big wheels with the crank on it. We just randomly choose names out of there, and those are the names of the students that get to every class period, get to come up and sit at the VIP table, and they love it. I mean, if you get an extra bag of Fritos or something and a drink at lunch, you're like a celebrity around our school. Grade level attendance competitions. We've got some old trophies that we just put different labels on, and we go across each grade level. Let's say, for example, 2nd grade. For all of our different classes in 2nd grade, we calculate which one had the best attendance for that week. And they get a big old recycled trophy that they get to put in their room, and they think it's the greatest thing on earth to get their picture taken with Miss Watson and get the hoop and holler over their trophy that they get to keep for the week. And they really get, and that's another fierce competition within our school. And then Check and Connect. Check and Connect is very simple. Check and Connect is kind of Miss Watson's first line of defense. Let's say she makes a connection and a relationship with a kid immediately that appears to have some attendance that we need to start paying attention to. So it gets a trusted adult in front of our students. All right. So our goal, we did fall short a little bit. Boy, in the fall, I'll tell you what, we were really cooking. We were really cooking, and our attendance was really cooking as well. And we're sitting there stirring our attendance pot, thinking we got this all figured out. And then, unfortunately, we didn't rebound once we came back from Christmas break, et cetera. And there's a lot of different. I'm not making excuses, but there's a lot of different factors that come into that. We're a neighborhood school, and the number one mode of transportation for our students is the bicycles that they keep in my office or their feet. So whenever we do have precipitation falling or precipitation on the ground, it makes a big difference in our attendance, and that's one thing we are trying to battle. And it's also one thing where it gives us another point of attack for attendance. So if we get more students that are growing on our watch list, that's just Miss Watson and I meet weekly, and that might be a person that they're going to find our shoes on their front doorstep. Because the next step to us is not only checking and connect, but checking and connect with families, because that's how we're really going to make a big difference in attendance. A lot of our students, being in elementary school, aren't necessarily in control of their attendance at times, and we need to influence families so they know the extreme importance of their kids being at school. We can't do anything positive for our students if we can't get them in the front doors.
As we look at the funding allocations that we utilize, we had updated you earlier in the semester about how we utilize our Illinois Empower funds that were just under $85,000. We also utilize building funds to ensure that we had access to the things that we needed for our PBIS, positive behavioral intervention and support incentives, as well as our attendance incentives. As Mr. Musselman said, hot chips, Takis, hot Funyuns go a long way. So making sure we had money to support celebrating those students when they did reach their goals or were able to sit at the VIP table was very important. So we spent just under $90,000 really trying to help move the work forward through the illustrative math coaching, instructional materials, ensuring that we were able to send staff to AVID training during Summer Institute, as well as, like I said, building funds for PBIS and attendance incentives. We have been very fortunate, and might I say blessed, to continuously have the support of Stone Creek Church. They have truly taken on the role of trying to serve as our PTA. We do not have current families who are serving on our PTA, and so not only have they helped support sponsoring our back to school night and providing inflatables, food, as well as Kona Ice to our families, they really updated our lounge. I think I shared this when we came before. That has made such a difference on the amount of staff who are even willing to go and sit in the lounge and eat their lunch together, which also has a positive impact on our school climate for staff. And so having an inviting and welcoming space to go in and sit at dinner tables as opposed to old tables that have just been moved around the building and are needing to go on the recycle list was very critical. And they painted one of the walls, and even that just felt like such a lift. We recognize that our buildings are continuously getting updated, but some of those small minor changes have really had a positive impact on our staff. They also made sure to help support with Teacher Appreciation Week, and we have continued to partner with the Park District. Throughout this year, our after-school program was centered around STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And one of the things that we recognize is another factor in us not necessarily reaching the goals is we really need most of that time focused on academics. So that's one of the things we're going to talk about. We want to continue the partnership with the Park District, but we really need to prioritize the academic focus time and not have the majority of that time focused on hands-on opportunities. We really need to close the gaps and increase knowledge and close those skill gaps rather than being able to do experiments and art projects. Those are important and they are critical, but we also need to make sure that our students can read and perform math with efficiency and fluency. So some of our next steps are continue with the implementation of CKLA, utilizing our high leverage instructional practices, incorporating Wicker at all the grade levels while AVID will be focused on 3-5. We want to make sure that all teachers are utilizing high leverage instructional practices, engaging strategies within their classroom, utilizing RACES. From the beginning of the year, we started implementing that around the second semester. So making sure that our students know how to respond to a text with a thorough and detailed essay response. And as we look at how does that work for primary, making sure that students can respond orally in a similar way. We will continue to utilize monthly data meetings as our PLCs talk about how can they adjust the interventions that they're providing within the grade levels and really make sure that our tier 2 continues to increase in utilizing research-based interventions. As we have continued to figure out what interventions are working and our students are responding to, we have been piecemealing that together. So we've been excited that our co-teachers have put together an intervention menu that is targeted for K2 and one for 3-5 so that staff are only utilizing research-based things and not having to go out and try to determine what could work for their groups of students. Similarly, with math, cubes is a strategy just like RACES, so you can explain your thinking and how you solved a math problem. So we will be implementing that and continuing to focus on using those centers in order to build targeted skills for students. For our culture and climate, we've really talked about one of the things that we noticed. I know you heard us say there was an increase in physical contact. It's the same students having physical contacts with other students who've had physical contacts. So we really want to make sure that as we are supporting students and giving them tier 2 and tier 3 supports, that if a student is suspended for physical contact, they automatically get put into a social academic instructional group so that they can start finding other ways to handle conflict, as well as looking to implement a peace process. And one of the gaps that we also noticed with 7 Mindsets is that we need to continue to implement zones of regulation so students know how to communicate how they're feeling and have strategies to co-regulate or self-regulate whenever they are frustrated. Additionally, with attendance, we will continue to have proactive implementation of SAIG groups, celebrate our students, celebrate their successes, as well as offer incentives to students who have increased their regular attendance. I know that was a lot. Do you have any questions for us?
When you speak on the physical contact part of it, is this like pushing, shoving, or?
It's from as simple as pushing and shoving to, at the elementary level, a fight is not what I call a fight. A fight at the elementary level is I hit you, you hit me back, I hit you, you hit me back. A fight is multiple hits back and forth. So what we consider a fight is usually a lower level, but it is physical contact. So we consider fighting with injury, fighting without injury, or physical aggression toward a student, which would be something as minor as pushing. So it is something that's simple. And unfortunately right now, that's some of the things that we're seeing is that rather than being able to talk through what's frustrating or why I'm triggered and you've gotten on my nerves or you're annoying me, instead of using their words, students are choosing to put their hands on one another. So those are some of the skills we're trying to increase and make sure that we're talking to students about other strategies. We've utilized stop, walk, talk for years, but I think we need to go deeper into other ways to have conflict resolution, which Mr. Hightower had highlighted as well. We need to empower students to have strategies to use in order to solve minor peer conflict. And one of those major things is getting an adult support before you react and retaliate towards someone. Yes, ma'am.
Between 24-25 and 25-26, was there consistency in recording of events? I just wonder if that had any effect on your numbers at all.
So one of the major changes is we have begun putting our minors into Skyward, and so that was a shift. So in the 24-25 school year, we were entering minors, which is what, like an assigned detention. If I just hit Mr. Hightower right now, that would have been a minor. But if I punched him multiple times, that would have been a major. So this year, minors and majors were also entered. And so you're correct. We saw a major increase in not only our overall number of referrals, but also the amount of physical contact, because previously we were disaggregating the minors and we were not putting them in Skyward. So that's a great clarifying question. So we did see an increase because before we were considering those low-level classroom managed consequences and not counting them in with our majors. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. As we shift to King, I think is next, John. I just want to remind our other teams and administrators, Dr. Williams has a little more of an intensive presentation due to the fact that they are required to have a present to the board a couple of times a year due to their designation. So our other schools, while they shared so much information with us, it was wonderful. Our other principals and other teams do not feel that you have to give that deep of a dive into your information. So that is kind of a requirement for Dr. Williams, and they did a great job, but the rest of the presentations will go a little bit quicker. On to King.
Hello, good evening. My name is Lydia Wong, the principal of King, and this is our end of the year school improvement plan update. I do have my 3 other team members here supporting us today and representing King. They're just being shy in front of the microphone. Okay, thank you, Ms. Turner. I will be brief. We had 4 goals on our SIP plan this school year: the attendance, literacy, math, and culture and climate. The literacy and math goals were around the measured by MAP assessment, and were focused on the growth projections of students who would meet or exceed their projected goals. And we focused on a cohort of students of our 2nd to 5th grade students. Both goals were that our 55% of those mentioned students will meet or exceed their growth projection goals. The attendance goal was focused on decreasing the chronic absenteeism from 28 to 20%, and the culture and climate goal was focused on reducing the school suspension numbers. The main achievement that we are very proud of is our literacy goal. So it was the goal that we set would be representing 23% point increase from the previous year. And we actually had a 26% increase. So from 32% in the fall to 58% growth in the spring. So that means that we're closing some of our achievement gap in literacy for our 2nd through 5th grade students. We did that by implementing CKLA with fidelity for our skills and knowledge blocks, by providing a targeted small group interventions during intervention blocks. We actually had a very in-depth day-to-days during the winter and spring, and after the winter ones, we have reshifted how we're doing our supports for interventions for students with specific grade levels or specific teachers even, and sometimes we grouped those groups as well, like in the 4th grade, to provide the most intervention that we could with the resources that we had. We also had fabulous team of Tier 1 co-teachers. The co-teaching, I think we poured all of our ducks in literacy, and we have seen that pay off by our results. The intervention for math was more computer-based, and we'll see that we made some growth, but not as much as in literacy. I do want to add about literacy that we did do classroom walkthroughs. We have added specific things to our goal mid-year, and we focused on scaffolding and engagement and did the walkthroughs and gave specific feedback to our teachers about those specific strategies. And to finish the literacy goal, we also achieved our Smarty literacy goal, which focused on the growth of African American students for the same cohort of grades 2nd through 5th. And they had an increase, that group had an increase of 33% in the fall to 55% in the spring, which was 25% increase with the goal of 40%. Oh no. The next slide will show you the data, the map data that we had, and just kind of support of that growth that we saw in literacy. Well, not yet, guys. Okay. Am I clicking or are you clicking, John? Okay. Okay, so the math goal we did not meet, unfortunately, and we also focused on the cohort of 2nd through 5th grade students. Although we have not had as strong of the growth and we did not meet our goal, we still saw the increase in math for if we look from the previous year. So we have had, we maintained the same growth for our math from fall to spring. But if we look at the slide that shows overall growth and not just 2nd through 5th grade, this slide, we can see that 43% of our students met or exceeded their growth goal, which was a huge increase from 29% from the previous school year, from the spring of 2025. So we are making strides through illustrative math. We also had the coaching with Janet Moore. We had targeted math intervention, and our grade level planning and data analysis contributed to that growth. The next goal was culture and climate. We have not met that goal. We have had more out-of-school suspensions that we had set a goal to do. We had 71. The goal was 50. The goal was 23 from 55. We do contribute that to a more proper documentation and documenting every single thing. So on, although we have put all of things in place, such as PBIS expectations, 7 mindsets, we started implementing CHAMPS. We had restorative conversation. We increased family engagement. We did really great work in MTSS and supports that we had for students with the revisiting with families who were very engaged in the process every 6 to 8 weeks of the plans that we did put in place. And we saw great results with some students who have graduated out of those Tier 2, Tier 3 supports and have reduced the amount of suspensions or completely stopped the amount of referrals after those interventions have been successful. And I must say that most of the amounts of these suspensions were focused on very small amount of students. So if we looked at panorama data in the columns of the behavior, we did have over 80% of our students being in green, which means that they had less than 1 to 2% of incidents in their whole school year. Which means that our basic Tier 1 instruction for behavior is working. We just need to tighten up our Tier 2, Tier 3 supports. And the last thing is our attendance. As a district-wide, we've already covered extensively today that just like the district-wide, our attendance was failed short with the chronic absenteeism, although we have done all of the interventions. We have done our SCAA, done the family outreach. We did the incentive programs. We did the celebrations, the bulletin board recognitions, the classroom attendance competitions where classroom competed for a trophy. We collaborate with the family liaison and social work services. We increased the communication with families regarding the attendance expectations, and we did the SAIG group specifically for attendance group that were conducted by our SEAA. We also created attendance plans in Panorama for chronically absent students. Despite all of those efforts, we still fell short in attendance. The Illinois Empower money we have spent on literacy intervention support and instructional materials. We have purchased quite a few things for our STARS program for our students with autism who have special needs. We also had professional development from third parties for our CKLA, CHAMPS, and multi-language learners. That also included engagement strategies for all the students, not just for those groups that I have mentioned. We've spent some money on student incentive and PBIS celebrations and family engagement activities and attendance support. We also spent portion of our money to provide Arabic classes and instructional coaching as well. The partnerships, we were very proud of this year and invested a lot of output and staff effort into it. We have developed a PTA this school year, and that is another thing that was a collective effort from the staff and the families, but now it is functioning. While it was not properly functioning, we had a lot of community members who stepped up. Urbana Rotary Club adopted us and provided like Valentine's card for our staff and dinners for our teachers, for parent-teacher conferences, and volunteered in our classrooms and provided classroom supplies. We've continued the partnership with the local church with Champaign-Urbana School Foundation. The U of I student organizations came and donated backpacks, and the football players were there to encourage the kids in the beginning of the school year. We also had a lot of family volunteers, and due to our PTA efforts, we had seen some of those family engagement numbers increase that Ms. Dion has covered. We also had all of these partnerships support our SEL attendance and student wellness efforts. So as next step, we will continue strengthening our Tier 1 instruction and intervention. We're really excited. Our numbers specifically for kindergarten and first grade were amazing. So we are seeing that CKLA working, and the growth for first grade was over 68%, I think, in CKLA. So we're just very excited to see when the cohort moves along, like how much more with those foundational skills they can achieve once they get to those IAR testing, and what we can really showcase what our students can do in Urbana. So we're gonna shoot for the growth target of 60% plus. We're gonna expand our restorative practices, and we're looking to get a third-party training specifically for restorative practices to help our staff to conduct proper debriefing after infraction for our students, and have proactive approaches to conflict management to help students develop those conflict management skills, because just like DPW, we see the same kind of struggles at King. We also want to improve our school climate survey results for our students and staff. We want to keep on strengthening our attendance system for the targeted grade levels, and maintain the focus on our equitable outcomes for our African American students. Any questions?
No questions. Just want to say getting those growth figures over 50% is awesome. It's how we close the gap. So really, really, really good work.
Thank you.
Leo's next.
Good evening, everyone. How are you doing? They gave me 3 minutes back there, so we'll see how we can go. Ms. Riley couldn't be here today. She's got three students under 5. I can't imagine that. I have a 20 and 24-year-old, so that's difficult to imagine. Just thank you for the opportunity to present our Leo SIP plan on behalf of our SIP team. Just a thank you to Mrs. Riley, like I said before, Katie Plotner, our CIT teacher, Ellen Archer-Puffer, one of our co-teachers, Kristen Doty, a first grade teacher, Max Smith, a third grade teacher, Leanne Sanford, a fifth grade teacher, Hannah Kessinger, a fourth grade teacher, and Matt Tursky, our SEAA. As you can, oh, it's me. I'm just looking at you. I'm gonna go faster. Those were our goals last year, but we're gonna go over them in a second, so it's just an overview of all of our goals. Taking a look at our literacy goal, we wanted 55% of our students to meet or exceed their MAP growth in CKLA and ELA. The nice thing is we had a good 62% result, so we had 62% of our students meeting that growth target. Is because of our consistent CKLA implementation, our co-teaching of CKLA, which I think was a genius idea, and our Amplify M class, so we're assessing and progress monitoring all of our students on their reading. Another highlight there is that we have 70% of our first and second graders at or above grade level now. So that's a really huge celebration from the beginning of the year, from fall to here. And so our professional learning communities and really our teachers are doing all of this work in groups. They're really talking about where students are, how they know where they're going, and how we're going to get there. So good for all of our teams going forward. The next slide really talks about, this is basically our growth report. Basically where you're supposed to be in every grade level is the projected growth from the fall is the diamond. And so the blue rectangle, for lack of a better word, the blue rectangle is the actual real growth. So we expect the growth to here of the whole school the whole grade level, and then the blue growth's out of it. So really pretty good in reading. We're above, if not pretty high in that area. And as I said before, 62%. The next section kind of brings up the point for a few people. Like, we like growth, right? But we also need achievement. We're very happy we celebrate growth. What really gets me excited is our achievement, right? Are our students at and above grade level? And so I'm happy to report our fall scores for all of our students. We're kind of on this side of the 50th percentile, and on the spring, the right side of the 50th percentile, so at and above grade level. So we're really excited about that. Our school did so as well. So we're 53% at or above grade level based on the assumptions of our IAR projections. So that's great. Prior to go for math, 60% we will meet or exceed projects in 1st or 5th grade. Good result again. We met that goal with 60% of our students doing that. We had consistent implementation of illustrative math curriculum, and we're very excited about some other programs that we've used, 99 math and extra math as well. And our PLCs are really focusing on doing above and beyond and doing interventions for math next year. We had the same growth here, like the diamond's where we should be. 4th grade is a little bit lower, but everyone else definitely did a really good job. The same thing, like this is from the fall. We're on the 50% line to the left. Now we're just not on the 50% line to the right. And so we have several of those students, and then actually all of our students, and then our entire school is at the 47th percentile at or above grade level based on III projections. So we're very excited about that one. We're a little less excited about this goal. We had 4.8 referrals last year and 5.3 referrals. I think you have asked some really good questions about this already. We didn't have minors in the system. We didn't know what teachers were trained. We actually had some teachers that weren't able to get into it, especially at recess and a variety of other things in our fine arts department. So now everyone's trained, so that's why we see the differences. But I will celebrate this one part, is that 83% of our students had 1 or fewer discipline referrals. And 87% of our students had 2 or fewer discipline referrals. So what we're doing is that Tier 1 curriculum for CHAMPS and for our SEL program, it really is working, right? Our classroom management plans are working. We just have a few friends that need some extra help, and we've gone through that process. And so we really are documenting to help students. Behavior is not just, hey, we have to help your discipline. Why don't we call home and ask them to improve it? We really want to know what the student's telling us, and we want to help that student make better choices in the future. Our MTSS system is really strong as well in our school. We have, Mrs. Riley's a huge part of that, and we have check-in, check-out, and SEIG groups with both our social workers, our social work intern, and also our SEAA as well. The next one is our goal, or what we were before, is we're going to improve our attendance by 20%. We were 25% chronically absent last year. We're 18% chronically absent this year. So that's a huge celebration for us. It's a lot of little things that we do. Our SEAA is awesome. Our social worker is great. We don't have weekly meetings. We kind of have daily meetings and kind of twice daily meetings. And we're like, who's going to go get some of those kids today? But I will, to your point earlier about transportation, we kind of did a little study in our own school, is that for students that are from 0.8 to 1.4 miles away, those are the ones that we're having difficulty with, especially during the winter months. I mean, but we have pretty good and reliable data that that's been a constant issue going forward. Budget allocations, Empower, and well, the state of Illinois gave us lots of money, so we're very happy about that. Summer writing and planning for ELA. We have Read 180. That's an exciting curriculum our middle school is using. We're going to use that for an intervention and train our 3rd through 5th grade teachers next week. We've had a lot of U-Fly materials as well, so we have lots of different things that have been really successful in our school, and we'll continue to do that. I think I'm over my 3 minutes. Our partnerships are wonderful at Leo. In fact, we have to talk to the parking department often because they say we're taking too many spaces around the area. I Count, I Reads is in every kindergarten and 1st grade classroom. We have 250 plus mentors, tutors, and volunteers. Our after-school program, this one I think is really, we'll give Tara Hawkins a huge round of applause for this. We have over 100 students in that program. We have tutors coming in every day after school doing academic tasks. not every day, but most days as well. And our CU one-to-one mentors, it's done a really good job. Our Leo PTA is strong and active parts of our community, and then all the rest of the things that we do, including American Reads, which has been done well as well. And we have a relationship with Feeding Our Starving Kids, where we give food for our students for the weekends. Next steps, we're going to continue the same things. We're not going to do no programs, right? I don't have many years left, but the years I do have left, we're going to do the same things. We're going to do them well. We're not going to do new things and just hope they work or don't work. But we have lots of good things that are working. We have lots of good things in our school district are working and across all the buildings in our school. So the more we do that and work on the things that work hard to make sure that we all have excellent teachers that are retained and stay in our schools, the better. And also our students give them the supports they need to move forward and be successful. So thank you very much. Questions? How many minutes?
Yep.
8. Oh.
No, still a great report. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thomas Payne.
No. I got 3 shots today at the dentist, so they don't know, but they're speaking tonight. Megan Kirby, principal, first year. Oh. Can someone be the clicker? Well, I'll let them introduce themselves. I think they're on the next slide here. Yeah. Miss L couldn't be here tonight, my assistant principal. Oh, do I pass this?
Amanda Rutledge. I'm a Tier 1 teacher.
Chris Davis, 3rd grade teacher.
Carrie Surratt is another Tier 1 teacher who couldn't be here, and Mr. Williams, our SCAA advocate, couldn't be here, and Miss Griffin, our CIT.
Jessa Johnson, Tier 1. Christina Sloan. I teach kindergarten, and then I'm also the Tier 1 PBIS.
So I first want to thank my SALT team, because obviously it takes a great leadership team in order to run a building and follow through with your SIP school improvement plan, your PD plan. So these are like the thinking partners I'm always going to twice a week. And then of course our teachers who are doing all the work day in and day out. So it truly takes a team. Okay, so here are our overall goals from our SIP plan last school year. And then here are our Smarty goals that we'll go through. So I won't restate a lot of the schools have already stated things that we're doing, but from last year to this year, the goal was that 50% of our students would meet grades 1 through 5 or exceed the projected growth goal on MAP for ELA, and we did reach that and exceeded it. This data I pulled like mid-April, so with makeups and whatnot, there is a slight change. We're actually at 61.4% growth, so we saw great success there through our SIP goals and through our PDs and monthly meetings, our Monday meetings. We really targeted looking at the data and then focusing on our high yield instructional strategies, which is summarizing and note taking and cooperative learning. And then when we pulled our fall MAP data, we were targeted vocabulary through all lesson planning, because that's what our data was saying that we need to focus on. So that was really intentional planning through PD, PLCs through this school year. And then data days in the fall, we meet in the fall and winter with this team and all my 4 Tier 1 teachers in CIT. And that's where we're very intentional of placing students in groups. And so part of the success I think this year is we flex kids. So when we're doing a whole group and they're doing co-teaching, all my Tier 1 teachers are pulling small groups based on skills from every different class, and then even our gen ed teachers are flexing kids between their 3 classes. So it really makes, I think we probably see about 8 small groups through that block at a time, which is amazing because we can do enrichment blocks, and then obviously meeting the needs of our students who are falling below that 40th percentile. And then same thing, well, for our Smarty goal, our target was our Black students. So our goal was to, for the students who are 40th percentile below, 20 of our black students, grades 2 through 5, would meet that, and we did meet that. We had 24 of our black students, grades 2nd through 5th, meet or exceed their growth goal, who fell below the 40th percent. Here is where Thomas Paine, the median growth goal was last year, or growth was. They're at 48, my eyes are bad, 48th percentile last year, and then the median growth from fall to spring this year was 59th percentile. Math, same percent, 50% of our students in grades 1 through 5 will meet or exceed. In winter, we were at 55.2, and then again, once we did makeups and a few more testing, we did drop a little bit, but our growth was still at 60.5%. In our proficiency, there's a lot of work, like Craig spoke to. Well, actually, they're doing great in proficiency, but this is where Thomas Paine has a lot of work to do. We saw a small improvement there, but obviously the growth is great, but we hopefully over the next 5 years will continue to see the proficiency of the trend go up there. Our SMARTY goal was that 30 black students, grades 1 through 5, who fell below that 40th percentile would meet or exceed, and we had 38 students of our grades 1 through 5 meet or exceed. Math, the median growth was from last school year, fall to spring was 37th percentile, and this year we're in the 59th percentile as well, from fall to spring. So here you can kind of just see the growth increase from fall to spring last year to where we're at this school year. So growth increase of 17.1% in ELA, proficiency increase 13%, and growth increase in math 20%, with a proficiency increase 7%. Our culture and climate, there's been a lot of work with readjusting systems and structures this summer and fall, and then also utilizing our new curriculum with CHAMPS and 7 Mindsets. And so the goal was to decrease major discipline referrals. They spoke on like minors versus majors, so this was only measuring our majors by 35%. So in the winter, we had a 53% reduction, which was about 206 fewer referrals. And then from fall to spring, or total, we had hold on, this changed because this was pulled in April and May, or middle of May, and we had a few more. We were at, we went from 826 major referrals last school year to 455 this school year, which is a 44.9 reduction. So still met our goal there, but there's still a lot of work to be done there as well. And then for our SMARTY goal, it was targeting our black students to decrease discipline referrals by 25%. And then of the 488, actually I don't think I updated this one, but we do see about a 59.2% reduction, but it's actually a little less than that probably because I didn't pull the black data from that, but still we met our goal by that. And then just like talking about culture and climate, this is just the staff survey that they take at the end, like in replace of the 5 essentials through Panorama. So just a celebration to our staff and our staff leadership here. This is just, I don't know how to explain, but just like how it's favored. So 69% of the staff members feel that the school climate is moving in the right direction as far as school leadership, 79%, and then staff leadership, 83%.
So shout out to our administrators for that.
Well, and our school leaders, because, yeah. And then this is just a snapshot of where, again, there's a lot of work to do with our students, because if you move to the next slide, there's celebrations in this with our students, but go ahead. Like what our staff is experiencing, like they're feeling the culture and climate is moving in the right direction, but our students are still feeling like it's not consistent. So we're really gonna target how we can streamline and communicate with our Tier 1 expectations in common language. So that's a lot of the work that we're doing this summer with CHAMPS and 7 Mindset, on just aligning everyone with similar systems, same language, same processes for our Tier 1 experiences. And then this is just shout out to Miss Sloan and Miss Rutledge. They create a lot of our fun culture and climate like activities for our students, staff. We try to keep our staff very happy because we're at work so much, so it might as well be fun as well as work hard, play hard. So you can see here we've had some fun and field day, staff holidays. That was anything but a cup day. It was a staff cookout one day, and then when the students met their map projection for their math growth goal for their class, if they hit over 50%, they were able to pie whoever they wanted in the face. So Mr. Davis was pied. Miss Sloan took off that day. No, I'm just kidding. And then attendance. So this is the goal we did not meet. Obviously, there's still a lot of work. You asked what we need in order to get students to school. If we could rent a little bus or if we could purchase that for Thomas Payne, I'd be happy to drive the first 30 minutes of every day because like we said, Craig and I attended a conference in Chicago, and this is on our to-do list this year, but if we plotted all the students who were not making it to school in the winter and how close they were in proximity to our building, I bet you we would see the same data that Craig's seeing. Our students, like the pathways of sidewalks aren't plowed, or the safety of students, of things happening in the community. You can't have a kindergarten walking 1.2 miles from their house by themselves. So if we could come up and brainstorm some ideas on how to sweep kids after the bell even just to get them in the building, I think we would see an increase in this attendance rate. And those aren't not our sidewalks. Our sidewalks are clear. Just at the community side. Yeah. And then so our goal for our Smarty goal was that for our Black students to decrease their chronic from 51 to 40%, and we also did not meet this goal. We're still about 45% of our Black students chronic, which is 71 of our 157 students. We, as Empower Money, my staff, they've been able to purchase a lot of supplementary items to support our 3 focus target or 4 areas. Janet Moore's, we've spoke on for IM. She's been with us. Jessa attended numeracy conference in Effingham this year. Sloan attendance, you attended for kindergarten coming up. We collaborated with Beth Mears with my 3rd grade, being really intentional about our writing due to IR being 50% of that. So they did a lot of work with Beth this year, who's coming back next year. She did some work with my K2 as well for one of our PDs. There's a handful of us on this team attending the Science and Reading Conference that takes place in somewhere in Wisconsin. And then just like flexible seating, items from the PBIS store. And then we have a lot of summer writing that's happening this summer, which I'm excited about through for all areas. We have teachers doing some scope and sequence work with CKLA, IM, and then also with CHAMPS and some planning with our fine arts team. Am I missing anything? Oh, partnerships. This year we did some work with U of I athletes. We also had the high school athletes come over. We did High Five Fridays with our police department. That was really awesome. Every Friday in April, the kids loved it. We had like 15 cop cars outside, which I alerted our families because I didn't want them. At first, I think people were freaking out, but then it became like the culture in April on Fridays that everyone looked forward to. Our PTA is amazing. Our carnival is a big hit every year. I think for our fall conferences, they were able to purchase everyone a dinner for the Burrito King food truck. Was it Burrito King or something like that? So just they're very great to our staff. They purchase a field trip for every grade level as well. What else? So next steps, just again, I think this work was a lot of hitting the action items, and next year will be a lot more getting in depth with intentional planning with PLCs, looking at the data, responding to our lessons, and just tightening the school-wide systems and consistency with language. Keep telling my staff that we're not trying to do more, but we're just trying to be intentional with the things that we're already doing. So we're just trying to make sure, not overwhelm our staff, but doing small things very well and not adding more to their plate, because there's a lot on everyone's plate. So we want to make sure that we're supporting them, but yet providing the best professional development for them to be successful in their spaces with their kids. Any questions?
Any questions? Quite a remarkable turnaround for a year ago. Congratulations to you and your entire staff.
Thank you.
Yankee Ridge.
Good evening. My name is Patricia Valente, and I'm the principal at Yankee Ridge Multilingual. So excited to be here.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Smith-Andre, and I am one of the assistant principals at Yankee Ridge Multilingual.
And
Sorry, you gave me a job, and
You have a
I
job?
already forgot it. Oh, John.
John, this is the best part. You can't miss it. I can stand up and show you. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna do it. So, if you notice these shirts, we are one pack. Can we get a howl? Oh! We are Yankee Ridge Multilingual, and we are happy to be here and happy to serve the community, and so grateful for everyone's support in the community, the teachers, our leadership team. The school would not be where it is today without the support of everyone. It takes a village, right? So this came out as our Wolf Pack Wednesday, and every time on the announcements we celebrate being one pack. The incredible diversity that we have at Yankee Ridge Multilingual has really both challenged us and encouraged us to really look at all of our students and all of our families and find creative ways to connect. And so this was one of our ideas that came out to bring unity and how do we interact with each other? How do we have conversations with each other? We all have different perspectives. What does that look like? So that has been a really amazing move this year at Yankee Ridge. And I wanted to share that. If we can get the slides going. Are we good, John? And we're not good. Not yet.
We did also include our Wolfpack Strong on our slides.
I know, it was so cute. With
I
the
know.
little
That we
wolves.
go over every Wednesday.
These are not huskies, they're wolves. And so what we encourage with these Wednesdays is in our pack, everyone belongs. We protect, we include, we speak up, we show kindness, no lone wolf at our school. So really unpacking that and teaching that with the students and the teachers. See, isn't that so
There it
cute?
is.
Yay, thank you.
Okay, so thank you to DPW for this little template here for our SIP goals. So this just includes our SIP goals that we were aiming for this school year. As everyone has a goal on culture and climate and attendance, we have ELA, of course. We also have Spanish language arts growth and French language arts growth that we will be discussing, and then our math growth goal.
And so in our English literacy, wow, this has been a really fun year. So we believe we have an 80-20 model for our Spanish dual language, and then our French dual language is 50-50. So 50% of the school day is in English, 50 is in French. 80% of the school day in kindergarten is Spanish, 20% is English. And then I should speak in the microphone, but it's hunching. So the 20% of English gradually increases as the students progress in the years. So first grade, they get 30%. Then third grade, second grade, 40% more English. And then by third through fifth, it's 50%. And so this year's been a really amazing goal where we've been really focused on how are we building that English comprehensive foundational skills in our students. And so really, we introduced UFly in K through 5, and so students were getting from kindergarten through 5th grade a comprehensive English literacy instruction as well as Spanish and French. And so that would this would lead to some of the growth that you've seen in our fall to spring in English. So 43% in fall and then a 50% growth in spring. And so we've just been really thinking about creative ways of how to integrate the English into our science and social studies, and then really talking about the standards and how does that look, and then also being able to make the metalinguistic connection. So how do we see, how does English and Spanish compare? What does that look like? What is it, how, when I'm saying the sounds in English, how do those sounds reflect in French or in Spanish? And so really getting students to think about crossing over in their brain, how do the languages, what are the similarity, what are the differences? And so that, I believe, has been a lot of the help in the growth. And we made our goal of 52%. And so this is just kind of the map data goal of where the growth numbers fall for the whole school.
Okay, and then we have our French literacy goals. So our goal was that what we saw was that during the 24-25 school year, 34% of students met their GB Plus projected growth goal. The GB Plus is the French like kind of standardized test that we give instead of like MAP you can give in Spanish. We don't have that for French, so that's what the GB Plus is. And that by May of 2026, 50% of students will meet their French GB Plus projected growth goal. We did see that. So by the spring, 54% of students met their GB Plus growth goal. And we attribute that to stronger co-planning across grade levels to vertically align the French language goals. We also incorporated more French into like texts within classrooms as well as within our library and even kind of around our building as well to promote all the languages that we see. We also had the French Embassy toured Yankee Ridge, and they were impressed by the dedication of the multilingualism. We had more PD on multilingual strategies and additional co-teacher support in kinder through 5th grade French dual language. And something that we continue to work on is a uniform system of assessment in addition to the GB Plus, because it's not a perfect assessment, so working on ways to continue to assess our students in French as well.
And now if we look at our goals in Spanish, we are 54% in fall, and then in spring, this was actually our winter to spring was 46, and then if you look at the next slide, it is our fall to spring, which was 42%. And so although we did not make the 50% in Spanish, we have made a lot of growth in increasing our foundational skills for a lot of our students in Spanish in 3 through 5. And some of that we found as we're implementing more of the foundational skills in K through 2, we were finding some of the students we just needed to fill a lot more gaps in the Spanish. And so being more intentional with how 3 through 5 teachers are teaching foundational skills in small groups or as a whole group to be able to make up some of the missing pieces is really important. Our next step in developing the Spanish literacy goal is to the comprehension piece and the writing and the vocabulary. So increasing the rigor and increasing the using text to look through comprehension and understanding it at more intense words in Spanish and vocabulary. That would help us to continue to move forward in our Spanish growth. And the UFly actually helped us as well. So the more we were strategic with the English language development foundational skills, we also could compare and contrast with the Spanish. And so that the ability for the students to use both of their resources is also very helpful in the Spanish growth. And we'll continue to work on bridging and the metalinguistic connections as well. And then this is the map. This is from fall to spring, and so it was a little bit lower if we looked through the whole year for Spanish growth. And now if we look at our math, woohoo! We made our goal in math at 51%. Our goal was 50% of our students would make their growth, and 51% had made their growth. And so a lot of this is just the intentionality of pacing and making sure that we are thinking about IM and how it fits into the language component that we need to also teach for our ELLs. So what lessons and how do we teach that with being able to give opportunities for our ELs to practice the language. So we had to be very intentional in the lessons that we were using and how we were using them. We also were using, the structure, having the consistency of IM implemented and the consistent structure of IM has also been very helpful. And then collaborating with the teachers in asking the teachers, what were the different spaces that you feel like we can support and that we need to grow in? And some of that was math fluency and math word story problems. So again, teaching students how to read and use the language in math is really important. And then the fluency, the automaticity of knowing, adding, subtracting, dividing quickly. So being able to be more focused and intentional in math has helped with the growth and will continue to help with the growth. And then working with U of I, a combination of the math department as well as the multilingual department to be able to look at IM and say, how do we present IM with ELL students in mind and the language support that they would need. And then our assessments and consistently our assessments and daily instruction. How are we knowing that the students are learning? What are we using to assess that they're learning? What pieces are really important? And then analyzing the data. So I'm excited about our continued growth in that space. And then there's our...
So for our culture and climate goal, we really wanted to focus this year on our systems and procedures that we have in place, and really focusing on that those are stable, in place, being used consistently. So our goal was that by the spring of 2026, we will strengthen culture and climate through implementation of PBIS systems school-wide in CHAMPS and classrooms. Tier 1 TFI will be at 80% by spring of 2026, and Tier 2, Tier 3 will be based on fall TFI. So the TFI is, it's called stands for the Tiered Fidelity Inventory. And what that is it's a survey that we would do in our PBIS committee meetings. It's every like 8 weeks or something like that. And we would fill it out together as a team, and it asks questions such as like, do you have student input in your systems? Do you have family input? Do you have this type of system? And you kind of rank yourself, and your goal is to get to that 80% piece. So in the spring, at our most recent survey, we were able to hit that 80% mark. We hit 83%, meaning that we are consistently implementing PBIS in our building, and teachers and staff are following our MTSS processes and procedures. So we're really excited about that, and to have those things really set in place. We have a really fantastic PBIS or Universal Tier 1, Kathleen Carter, who has really taken charge in this process. And she really started the Wolfpack Wednesdays that we have, has helped with sharing out discipline data at faculty meetings. In addition, we have done CHAMPS walkthroughs throughout the building. We've also done some PBIS walkthroughs as well. The SIP team has planned more Monday meetings, doing some examples with CHAMPS and helping teachers implement them, as well as classroom management plans, focusing on 7 mindsets, and as well as adding in the zones of regulation and helping teachers do that, regular data meetings, and then check-in, check-out, and SAIG groups as well. And then our attendance goals. So our attendance goal, like I feel like many other people, started out really strong in the fall, 18%. Chronic absenteeism was our chronic absenteeism rate. And then in the spring, we saw that spring data is ultimately like our year total. So our year end rate was the 28% chronic absenteeism. Our Smarty goal was focusing on reducing the chronic absenteeism of our Latinx students. Our goal was to decrease that by 15%. We did not meet that. We did decrease, but we didn't decrease by 15%. So a lot of people have talked about attendance already. We actually are the opposite. We do not have very many walkers. We have a lot of bus riders. We have 8 buses. And a lot of times it is waiting at the bus stop. It's too cold to wait at the bus stop, or it's raining or something like that. So that actually plays a factor more so than walking to school. But, we have really, really awesome SEAA family liaisons. So we have Papa Flor and then Kenya Orellana, and they are both really fantastic, incredible. They do a lot of home visits. I agree with if we could have a bus go and just pick up those kids that, couldn't wait in the cold. that would really be helpful. But our SEAAs really did a lot to try to get students to school, and also a lot of working with families to really help them understand the importance of school. They saw kind of early in the year just how low our kindergarten attendance was, and the real need to focus on that attendance and talking to families and explaining the difference between early childhood half day and full day kinder and the need to do all of that. So that's something that we're really going to continue doing next year as well, starting right off the bat, really focusing on kinder. And we saw a couple different grade levels have lower attendance, where they would do grade level incentives for a month. And there would be a prize at the end. That prize might be them coming to lunch recess and playing games with the kids at recess, or a small prize like a sticker or pencils or things like that. They also did, and starting at the very beginning of second semester, they did an attendance incentive plan that really had a lot of success. They called it Be an Attendance Hero, and the hero stood for here in school, every day, ready to learn, on time. And it was a 6-week lunch group program that they did, and students got punch cards, and they were so excited with the punch cards. And if they met their attendance goal for the week at their lunch group, they got a punch. And it spelled out heroes, and so they would get a punch for the week. And in the lunchroom, the kids would be like, it's Tuesday, I'm in first grade, I get to go with Miss Kenya today, or whatever. They were so excited, and that was a really big attendance incentive that lasted a long time, that students really responded really well to. They've done a lot of other things, phone calls, home visits. They did, at the very end of the year, they did a bunch of positive office referrals with handwritten notes to students who had good attendance or whose attendance had improved throughout the year, and then they got a prize as well. And students were so excited to have this just personalized note to them. So a lot of, and they got a prize, which was also very exciting. Maybe more exciting than a note, but they've just worked really, really hard to help our students be in school and our families understanding the importance of being at school.
And we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our partners. So we worked really closely with the Center of Teaching for Biliteracy. We created a 3-year plan. The Center of Teaching for Biliteracy really focused on multilingual language development and the pieces necessary to do that. And so as a leader, it was really important that I continued to grow as well in that space to be able to support the building and the teachers. And so we had a 3-year plan with objectives and goals of where we were going. They helped us with creating a mission and vision work, and we talked about pedagogy and what is our building pedagogy, what's our identity, what direction are we going? Because when you choose PD and you make decisions, you kind of want to have a unified direction. They helped us with biliteracy unit framework, being able to plan and connect to standards and assessments, and then the Illinois Resource Center is really helpful with multilingual strategies and how to implement that in the classroom. U of I Races team is helping us with a combination of math and multilingual strategies to be able to connect with our students in the language that they need for math. Then iCounts, iReads, our mentors, the University of Illinois groups, America Reads, our Feeding Our Starving Kids, and the YRM our PTA is amazing. It's super strong, super passionate, very flexible, and easy to work with. They've been super supportive in many, many different areas, and our families have been receptive and giving us ideas and challenging us to be able to come up with new ways to connect with students and with families. So we've been really, everyone has helped to contribute to how Yankee Ridge is become. And so these were just some of the other contributors that have been a part of supporting the different school nights that we had, and so social emotional heritage celebration, the consistent teacher appreciation that is seen in the building so teachers feel appreciated and loved, our welcome back and our end of the year picnics, and then having raffles, connecting with the community, a lot of U of I different support so our students could see different opportunities for STEM nights, that they could be in different careers and have different experiences. So thanks to all of our partners for making Yankee Ridge Multilingual an amazing place to be. And our next steps, like many of the other schools have, focusing on tier 1, deepening our tier 2 and tier 3, further developing CHAMPS and 7 mindsets, trauma-informed training, expanding on flexible interventions, further training in M-Class and Panorama, further training on multilingual instruction strategies and pedagogy. So keep doing what we're doing, but doing it better and more intense. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Any questions? Go ahead.
For the attendance, do you think that any of attendance chronically issues could be from like ICE being in the community as well?
Yeah, so, yes. There was definitely a time, like in April, I think there was a week where we had pretty low attendance, especially Monday and Tuesday. And then it was definitely our lowest attendance of the school year. And that kind of week was tough. Yeah.
I think every time there was a surge and oh no, ICE might be around, if it did affect families coming. And I appreciate the community who kind of, like, we had families and parents kind of text us and rally around, like, what can we do? How can we help? Is there anything? So I think it's really helped families and helped the teachers and all of us know that there were people around who were supportive and wanted to see our families safe. So that's how we got through some of that
People
space.
really wrapped around of like going to bus stops and things like that. So there were familiar faces, adult faces there to help.
And then, I mean, those were different conversations we had in the classroom too, right? So they would come in with the fear, and then how do you unpacking that fear? Our teachers did a really nice job of wrapping around students and being able to help understand what's happening. How can we sit school? What can we do here at school to make you feel safe? How can we talk about it? So yeah, that's good.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay!
And last but not least, Gerber.
Good evening, everyone. So I am going to share some similar themes, but because Gerber is our school affiliated with Cunningham Children's Home, and we serve an all special education population that is extremely mobile, our wonderful, fabulous school improvement committee really has to every year kind of think about how we can look at our data in a meaningful way, because some of the ways that our peers analyze their data just don't match when we have kids that aren't with us an entire school year, or we know the majority of our population is going to be in that red zone, that well below average on every measure that we give. So you'll kind of see some of those adaptations in how we have addressed our data, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through. So this is our beautiful building that we hope you guys all come visit if you haven't already. So just a little bit about our goals up front. Our literacy and math goals are really very similar to the ones you've heard about from our elementary friends. We are also looking at MAP data. We're also looking at those projected growth scores. But we really have to tighten up our timelines since a lot of our kids won't be with us for all 3 benchmark periods. We just looked at whether they made growth across at least 2 benchmark periods. So finding 2 benchmark periods that those young people are with us and looking at, were we able to affect some positive changes in them within those 2 benchmark periods. So for literacy, our goal was 70%, and for math, our goal was 65%. And we'll just zoom to those results, because I am really, really proud of the hard work that our teachers do in literacy and math every year. 78% of our kids made their projected growth across 2 benchmark periods in both literacy and math. So we rocked it. We did the hard things. Our kids did the hard things. And so it's just amazing to see. And it's amazing to see kind of the fruits of that when you see kids excited to learn. So we did a lot of data coaching with our reading interventionist so that we could target specialized instruction based on the data. And we really focused on the Marzano high yield strategy of cooperative learning. We felt like that was a strategy that you don't often see for special ed kids. You don't often teach special ed kids how to work together as a group, especially special ed kids who have social emotional concerns, how to work together as a group and struggle through academic and social emotional problems. And we felt like this strategy for us was especially high yield because it hit not only their academic needs, but then we were working on how do you have conversations with your peers appropriately, no matter what the topic was. And we saw a lot of gains, and I think some of our teachers at the beginning were like, what is our SIP group thinking, choosing that strategy? And then as we got going in the school year, they were like, wow, this is really working. Our kids are having some good conversations, or if they're not ready to have it with a peer, they're having that cooperative learning conversation with a teacher assistant in class. So I think we saw some really good things from that. We also, like some of our elementary friends, had Janet Moore come in. If you have never talked to Janet Moore about math, she is amazing. Highly recommend working with her. I am not a math person, and I love listening to her talk about math. And she has just done some great work with our special ed teachers in helping them understand what is designed as a regular ed curriculum and implement it in a way that really makes gains for our special ed population. So a lot of kudos to Janet and to our math teachers for the work they've put in with her. Then talking about culture and climate. So we did not look at suspensions. We traditionally don't suspend at Gerber because our kids are there because of their behavioral needs. But we looked at kind of our system of, we have a behavior rating system for kids on a daily basis. And so we really wanted to make progress. Our highest level is gold on a daily basis, and we wanted our kids to make progress. And we wanted to have 80% or more gold days for our students every quarter. And we didn't see the gains that we wanted to make in that, despite some one-on-one student meetings, data meetings amongst staff members, and IEP problem-solving meetings. One thing that we have recognized this year is that we've always had a very mobile population, but this year more than any, it really increased. I believe last year when I met with you all, we talked about how Cunningham had opened up a DCFS shelter. And that shelter, just the nature of that unit is that kids are there short term. So we've had some kids that have only been at Gerber for 2 days from that shelter program. Some kids that are in that program for 6 months before a more permanent placement is found. But there's a different behavioral intensity that we found in that group of young people because there's some hopelessness there, right? They don't know where they're going. They don't know when they're going. When kids are residentially placed, there's more of an understanding that this is going to be my home for a little while. When they're in the shelter, I could be here a couple days, I could be here weeks, and I don't know, and I don't have control over that. And then along with that turnover, if you've ever worked with students with behavioral needs, every time there's a new peer introduced into the environment, it kind of upsets the apple cart a little bit. So for our longer term students, having to deal with this heightened turnover in their classrooms has had some trickle down effect that we see in behavior as well. So those are two pieces that our team at the end of the school year was really wrestling with and trying to figure out, okay, now that we've identified these new challenges, how are we going to address them in the coming year? The other piece that we've noted that that also has kind of some similar potential root causes, for us, our kids live on campus. So attendance is different for us. Their residential staff make sure they come to school for the most part. So when we talk about attendance, we talk about time out of class because they may be in our school building, but they may be walking out of class. They may not be engaging in learning. So we really wanted to work on increasing or decreasing the amount of time students spend out of class. And once again, we weren't as successful in that goal as we wanted to be. And we think some of the factors that I just talked about made a difference. When I looked at our data, we served a total of 67 students across our school year. We're a very small school. Only 46 of those 67 students were there for 2 quarters or more. So that means 21 students that we served were with us for less than a quarter of the school year. A third of our population was with us for less than 1 quarter. So when I talk about turnover, that's what I'm talking about, and talking about that intensity that adds to our population right now. My team also, when they really dug into the data, they found that 2 students accounted for 34% of the total time spent out of class. We had 2 very intense young people that needed a lot of support and most of the time could not manage learning around their peers. And so if we took those kids out of our data, we have a very different data picture. So I talked about some of the things that we've done. Our collaboration with Janet Moore, we're very blessed. We don't have the Illinois Empower grants, but we have the Title I neglected funds. So our time with Janet Moore is paid for through the Title I neglected. We're also able to supplement with some additional math and literacy curriculum, including a lot of manipulatives for math that Janet has suggested that work really well for our learners, and also a lot of different sensory items, flexible seating, fidgets, all kinds of strategies to keep kids focused and engaged on the academics. Our next steps, like I mentioned, we really want to kind of dig deeper in how to better support those kids who are transitioning through our program so quickly, and how to support them in their transition, and how to support the peers that are being impacted by seeing all this coming and going. And we plan to increase professional development using a trauma-informed model that Cunningham has championed. It's called trust-based relational intervention. Myself and one of our teachers went to a training last summer, but with all the other pieces that we had going on this year with Champs and 7 Mindsets, we kind of let this take a back seat, and we started ramping it back in spring and hope to continue that more. And then also to continue the progress that we're seeing in our academic areas, we're going to continue to do our data meetings after each benchmark. We've already got Janet Moore on the books for a few days throughout next school year. And as those of you who are at the retirement celebration saw, our wonderful interventionist, Cindy Ditchfield, is retiring, but we are hoping to continue to partner with her and bring her back in a consultation role so she can continue to support the other teachers in reading strategies to help our neediest kids. Any questions?
Or was any questions? No. Thank you so much.
I just want to give the board just a little more context. So this was our end of the year presentations. Due to the timing of when we ended the school year, school improvement teams have not met yet. So they meet on Thursday and Friday. So the next steps that you saw, I kind of like a preview without any data associated with it of what they might be doing next year. But they are going to have their full groups for 2 full days at the middle school on Thursday and Friday. So they will be coming back in August to share their more concrete data points and data goals after they've had those 2 full days to work with their teams. I know Dr. Taylor just walked out, but I wanted to give Dr. Taylor a shout out and Chastity Beckless for the amount of work that they do with our administrators and the meeting time and the work with the school improvement teams. It's great to see the growth, and we know we have some areas that our teams are still working toward for next year, but it's nice to see that some of the curriculum improvements and some of the things we're doing are paying off. So kudos to you guys.
Right. Moving on to our administrative reports. First up is our human resource recruitment and retention report.
Good evening. It's fun to sit here with my friend and colleague Peter. And so Marianne's passing out a copy of our STAY survey. We're just giving some highlights. You can take that home, board members, and look at it. But it's an executive summary of something that we're going to talk about a little bit later. But I wanted you to at least have that. So I know it's been a long evening, but I'm excited, very excited, to share some human resource highlights from this school year. And then I will introduce Peter Furch, our Director of Human Resources. So we make a really good team and complement each other's strengths and maybe areas for growth. And so thanks, Peter, for being a part of our Urbana team.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here and share some amazing highlights from our human resource team. Our first up, there's the team. So all these fine folks you heard from today, our teachers, our leaders, our administrative staff, and our human resource team support everyone from our teachers to our paraprofessionals to our custodial staff to everyone. So these fine group of people work really hard to make sure that everyone finds success in their job and enjoys doing what they're doing.
Okay, Tracy Welch is on that first slide. She was able to support our long-term subs this year, and we also have Lonnie Maxey, who's a part-time kind of temporary employee that helps scan documents from business team and human resources team to upload. So not all full-time staff, but just wanted to give you a little bit more context of who's in the picture.
It's a good-looking crew.
It's a great group of people. We frequently say we have the best department.
As you heard from many different talks today about our strategic plan, we wanted to make sure we highlight some of the things that our human resource department's really focused on. Our first priority area is really retaining staff, and you can see what our goal is, and we've talked a couple times with our strategic plan group that will retain 87% of the staff by 2023. Or 2030, excuse me, and increase that at 1% every year. Our goal for this year was at the end of the year to be at 83% of all staff, and then specifically 88% of all licensed teachers. So we're really excited about sharing some of our strategies that we've implemented and where we are today. This is a really rigorous goal. There's been a lot of challenges, right? Not only in education, but a lot of changes in Urbana that are good, right? Our redistricting process, our Yankee Ridge multilingual learners, that school that came online. So there's a lot of shifts internally that happen. And to retain the amount of teachers that we've done is a lot of hard work through our leadership team and our connections with the staff that we have. The next goal here is about recruiting, right? And this is another really rigorous goal, really making sure that our staff represents our student population. And so our goal by the end of 2026 here is to represent our staff of 31% of licensed teachers that are not white, right? So our student or our teachers of color, right? And our staff of color will come and support our students at all of our campuses. And so that's our link into our strategic planning goals for the district.
And if you've taken well, not that you would probably look at other school districts often, but to see the percentage of teachers of color in other school districts that are around us, to have such a high percentage of teachers of color to reflect our student body is pretty remarkable. And it's something that we're really proud of. So we're going to open up and talk about the teacher vacancy grant. This has been a blessing that was funded by the state. And we are in the third and final year of the grant. It's not going to continue after this year. But we were able to use this money in very strategic ways to retain staff and also to recruit. And so oftentimes we talk about the retention first and then recruitment. And so Aubrey, one of our HR rock stars, is kind of our media specialist. And we were asked to share some slides with ISB that they were presenting on the teacher vacancy grant and success that different school districts have had. And so she created a few slides for us to share. So these are some, you're getting ready to see the 3 slides. So for the teacher vacancy grant, you know, we wanted to be able to spend money in ways that could retain our staff and then recruit more staff. So these are a couple highlights. Some of the ways that we spend our money is job fairs cost a lot of money. And previously, when I say that they cost a lot of money, they not only do you have to pay, you know, $300 to $500 to register to go to the fair, you have to pay travel expenses to get there. You're paying for materials to present. You know, different swag to pass out and so on. So job fairs are expensive, and the teacher vacancy grant has allowed us to attend more job fairs than we were previously due to money. We've also been able to fund a lot more kind of advertising presence. We have some examples of some billboards. We didn't do billboards this year, but we have done them in the past. It was really fun to be able to feature staff members, different staff members on 3 different billboards. In kind of a Brady Bunch fashion, where they're looking at each other and pointing. It was a lot of fun for our staff members to see that around town. We've also used money for our Tiger Tours. Tiger Tours is the kind of the brainchild of a lot of, you know, just of our human resources team talking about how can we get new people to come and see what's so great about Urbana. And so we were trained to drive the activity bus and take teachers around to see the district and to see Urbana students, to talk to Urbana teachers during the school day. Oftentimes when folks are applying, they don't get those experiences. They're usually interviewing outside of the school day. And so we wanted to provide an authentic experience for them and really to find the place where they felt like it was a great fit. We were also able to provide sign-on bonuses. Peter's going to talk a little bit more about that, I think, and referral bonuses. And so the referral bonuses and the hard-to-fill bonuses, along with retention bonuses, was a great way to retain high-quality staff. So some of our outcomes these are great celebrations. So after year one of the teacher vacancy grant, the data in the first kind of black square was pulled October 1st. So this would have been October 1st of 2024. So after year one of implementation of the grant, on October 1st, we still had 70 positions vacant. After year two, on October 1st, this is all through our state reporting through IWAS, we had 49 positions vacant. We will run that same data poll on October 1st of this year to see after 3 years of the vacancy grant where we're at. And so the number of vacancies dropped 30% after year one from the close of year two. So we consider that a huge success. Our teacher retention rate during this time period went up from 85% to 88.2%. Now this was polled, a couple weeks ago. Every day that our data is going to be different every day. So we might have a resignation, we might have a new hire. And so when this was pulled, it was pulled a couple weeks ago, but that was the data at the time. And so we went from, this past year, we went from 80, our goal was 88, so then we had retained 87% of the staff from the year prior. So our goal was to raise 1% annually, which sounds really small, but it's really hard once you get those high of numbers for staff retention. And so we did make our goal in terms of teacher retention 1 percentage point. We also made our goal in increasing our teachers of color. Again, something that we're really proud of, to be able to go into buildings and for students to see people that look like them, whether or not they're Latinx, African American, biracial, Asian. We really have a teacher demographic that represents the students and world we serve. So during this time, we've also seen a percentage of growth in ELA and in math district-wide. When you have strong building leadership, as you've heard tonight, you tend to, and for building leaders that stick around and they have kind of a following, those teachers don't leave because they're committed to their school leadership, their teacher leaders in the building, and then that's when we see the greatest areas of success.
One of the targeted approaches that we use to really recruit and retain staff is through our tuition assistance. This chart just shows over since 2023 to current how much we've expended to support our teachers, our non-certified staff, and even our long-term subs to help grow them professionally, to earn a Pell, or to even advance in a degree, right? And so you see two different fund sources. Some of that was through the teacher vacancy grant, and some of that was from the human resource district funds. And how that works is there's an application process, and people can apply, I believe, 3 times a year. So they really get an opportunity as classes come and go. We can't pay for everybody's college tuition, but we can help support as much as we can. I like to say that's a huge, huge win, and we were just talking about this earlier. And when we think about even the amount of long-term subs that we've been able to support and recruit, it's about 8 people that we've gotten to become from a sub-license to a Pell, and employed or almost employed within our school district, which is a huge accomplishment for our teams.
And something while you're changing, no, you can go ahead. While you're
Wrong
changing
button.
slides there, to kind of give you an idea, because Paul, you would have been the only one on the board at this time. So when I entered in my position 7 years ago, our budget for tuition assistance for district-wide was $7,500. We are going to feel, it was increased to $15,000 maybe in my second year or third year in the position. We are going to feel the hit of this without the teacher vacancy grant, because we've been able to help support so many educators going back to school, or so many support staff trying to get their bachelor's degree to go into education. So this has been a huge success, or a huge retention piece, to be able to say that we've supported so many staff members, maybe not full funding, but a little bit, is remarkable too.
The next targeted approach for retention is with our loyalty bonuses and our hard to fill bonuses. So you can see through 2023 to 2024, there's a group, a joint committee with the UEA and district who kind of come together, look at the data that we have for our open positions and the positions that are most in need or hard to fill. And you can kind of see the breakdown per year of what those positions are. And those teachers were awarded monetary bonuses for their hard to fill positions. We've also, with the teacher vacancy grant, had 2 opportunities within year 1 and year 2 to provide loyalty bonuses to really retain and show appreciation for our staff. So we saw in that first year 111 teachers, and the criteria was staying 10 or more years with Urbana. And then in that second year, 329 teachers who are returning, right? And so we tried not to double dip the teachers, and so everybody got some of the retention funds. And that went a long way to just showing that we appreciate it. You know, we can't pay all the money, but we can be strategic in how we allocate what we get.
So one of our next tasks that we that came out of strategic planning was the idea of finding out from staff what they're thinking and feeling about the school district. And this is, we do an exit survey, but an exit survey is, it's feedback for the future, but it's too late, right? The person's already resigned, they've already left the district. And so what we're more interested in is the stay survey, so that we're able to understand what staff want or what they need to stay in our district so that we don't lose them. We distributed a stay survey that was developed by our strategic planning subgroup to just our licensed staff as a first kind of start. And so it was distributed to just over 400 people, 400 teachers. And out of that, we had a 50% rate of people that took the survey, which I think is really good because the survey was extremely long. So to have that many people complete the survey was great. It left an opportunity for people to include their name to give very targeted feedback, so we could follow up with them, or they could leave, or they could be anonymous. And so, and this is just 3 slides from an executive summary which has been given to you. So I encourage you to read it because there's a lot of great takeaways and ideas, suggestions for improvement. But more than 75% of the folks that took the survey have said that their deepest satisfaction from coming to work is seeing student success. They aren't saying that they come to work for the money. I think that we know that's kind of a given, that folks aren't going into education for that reason, and that is keeping people satisfied in their job. Other things that the reason why our staff are staying is that they have strong work families, strong team bonds. They really enjoy working with the colleagues they work with. And I think that's what sets us apart. We talk about that in our Tiger Tours frequently, that Urbana is different because we're family. You're going to have a superintendent that's been in every classroom. She knows your name. She knows something about you. And you're not going to have that in other school districts. Something else that came out in that survey was trusting teachers. Urbana also prides itself as having a lot of teacher autonomy. That sentiment kind of varied a little bit a few years ago when we adopted curriculum. And it was really, we needed to do something different to produce different results. And with all of our new teachers coming out of school and entering into a job where they have to manage student behavior and just all of the needs that our kids come to school with, having a curriculum that's already developed for them was incredibly helpful for our teachers that were new to the job. They also talk about just having that creativeness and being able to take risks in their classroom to supplement the curriculum. In addition, there was a lot of mention about the district's commitment and values to equity, which I think is really important to note, that there are folks that stay in our district because we have a commitment to serving our most underserved students. And people do have, they have options. They have options to move to smaller towns surrounding this area. And and they choose to stay in a district that is more high poverty than some of the surrounding areas. So, let me hit it. Am I not hitting it right? Did the battery die?
While we kind of figure out that.
Okay.
Oh, perfect.
Okay,
I was
perfect.
going to say one of the strategies that the teacher vacancy grant, or one of the opportunities the teacher vacancy grant allowed Angie and I to have, is to collaborate with a variety of different stakeholders in school districts. And one of the places that we were able to connect talked about the state survey, which then we were able to bring that strategy and kind of make it Urbana, right? And we got some great data and great next steps from that.
Yeah, good. Thanks for including that.
Yeah, it's my segue as the.
That was great. So some suggestions for improvement from the STAY survey. So some of the things that we, that were our takeaways is that teachers are asking for more support with classroom climate and behavior. That sometimes the day-to-day work is causing fatigue and burnout. There was some feedback in the survey that there's a perception that district administrators are out of touch with the daily reality of classrooms. And I think in some cases that's true, and I think in some cases our district administrators are very aware of what's going on in the classroom based on how much they're in the school. But it's different with being a visitor in a school or being in a classroom with a teacher. And it is difficult. Like, our students come to school with a lot of challenges, and it's our job to meet a student where they are and help them grow. Something else that was mentioned is that teachers don't like the classroom walkthroughs. That's a non-negotiable. We want administrators in classrooms seeing what's going on, making sure that the curriculum's being implemented. So that's, we hear you, but we still got to do that. Something else to think about, though, is rethinking Monday meetings. So there was a talk about kind of the Sunday night anxiety. There are administrators that have that too, that are just worrying about, okay, so what's going to happen tomorrow after a weekend? And rethinking that maybe instead of a Monday meeting, have it a different time during the week to help with that anxiety. Also talking about staff support and balancing workloads and balancing support staff support in classrooms. So those were suggestions that we took for improvement. And then it doesn't like me clicking, Peter. Oh, hold on. No, it did go there. I just ruined it. All right, I'll start talking while Peter will he's got the magic touch. There we go. See? All right, so kind of the final takeaways are some of our priorities, and with our subgroup and thinking about our summer professional development with administrators is, okay, so what are going to be our priorities for staff retention? So I think that something that we could work on is having teams in school to be able to respond to classrooms for some behavioral support. In an elementary building, we've got to have more people that can be boots on the ground supporting besides a principal and assistant principal. So we need to see what we can do to help support our administrators with that. There was also conversation about consistent consequences for phones, skipping, and classroom disruptions. That's probably more secondary focused. And it's sometimes hard, right? We've got several dean of students, we've got several administrators, and to make sure that we're implementing things consistently can sometimes be challenging because teachers might not know the specific situation that occurred and might just see a consequence. Also protecting planning time. Teachers are really wanting to they have their plan time is protected. I think it's more so protecting professional time outside of the school day, thinking about the number of meetings, the additional professional development, that they're requesting less of that so that they can focus more on their daily tasks. And then also recognition of veteran staff. There was comments made about showing the veteran staff that they are appreciated, that they often feel overlooked, and they want to feel seen and heard. So those were kind of our priorities.
All right. One of the highlights that we kind of alluded to in the beginning here is that when we look at our teachers of color, we're at 32.1%, which is above the 31% goal for the year. When we look at different districts around or very close around to us, we're above them. So I looked just a little bit ago, and one school district's at 24%, while another is at 8%, and another is at 22%. So that's a really good highlight for not only recruiting, and we can have that as an important part when we talk about with our student teachers and Tiger Tours and in our job fairs, but it also meets the goal for this year. Here's a couple of targeted approaches that we used with teacher vacancy grant money, but also with our team. We really looked at who's in our classrooms already from our student teachers, right? Whether they're from ISU or U of I or EIU or, on their own program, and how can we get them really invested in the Urbana School District, and they already have a sneak peek, right? They get an opportunity to meet their teachers, meet their future team. So we really try to recruit as many as we can to stay with the Urbana School District. One of the biggest things, as you know, a lot of kids like to go back to their home, which is allowed to, and live with their parents or whatever. And so we talk about that in the Tiger Tours too, about opportunities that the Urbana community has to house you, how you can still have a really outstanding non-academic life, right? Even though we're at college here, so living off campus. Another targeted approach that we've mentioned is our Tiger Tours, and that gives everyone a really good look at what Urbana has to offer. Some of the conversations that we have, not only Angie and I, but other directors come and speak with the student teachers. It's a really amazing opportunity. In fact, one of the candidates that we had 2 Tiger Tour years ago is now going to be an early childhood teacher, right? And so she was able to experience Tiger Tours, I think, a couple times, and we met her at a recruitment fair over at the university, and she's now going to be a great first-year teacher over at our early childhood school. And then our job fairs, we got to expand the amount of fairs that we got to go to and bring our exposure to a variety of different places. We were able to use some of our human resource department team members to help us with that. So that was a really great opportunity to, again, further our outreach to make sure we're connecting with various universities to bring and find the teachers that are hard to fill, right? And really recruiting our special education teachers, elementary teachers, dance and drama teachers, middle level teachers to really be interested in Urbana and to join our team. So there's a couple of targeted approaches that we took.
So if you are on social media, I would encourage you to follow our Human Resources Facebook page. And so we try to highlight staff and highlight openings and just highlight reasons to come work in Urbana, which is not something the district webpage can necessarily do. And so just because there's so much information and we don't want to kind of overflow or over communicate with our families like Catherine was talking about. So this is a page that we hope that staff will follow, that we hope community members will follow, that prospective candidates will look at. And every person on our HR team, as Peter was talking about, plays a very a specific role in our department and really complement each other well. And so we've been able to grow the capacity of our clerical staff within our team to be able to go to recruitment fairs at Northern or in Indiana or at Western. Something that Aubrey's been able to do for us is been able to really improve our social media presence. And so you've got some data points on our Facebook page. I encourage you to take a look. We just highlighted our staff that retired. And that was something new that we did this year. I follow social media pages for other school districts and kind of, steal great ideas. And I saw a school district doing that in Bloomington, and so we were able to turn that over pretty quickly. And so for those of you who went to the retirement dinner and we had that slideshow going, that was a new addition this year that we hadn't done in the past. And so we'll continue to do that. We advertise our upcoming job fair in the summer. We look for vacant positions. We talk about the referral bonuses on our social media page. And we also, it's fun to have our prize patrol when we surprise staff members for the Staff Excellence Award. And you'll hear Peter blow this little horn. It's not as cool as the Yankee Ridge Wolfpack howl,
Not cool.
but it's a fun little noisemaker. So in terms of, and I'll just briefly highlight this, for the Tiger Tours, when we first started this initiative a few years ago, we had so many people come, flooded from other areas, and then we had a couple of colleges tell the student teachers, now you can't take off a day to go on this Tiger Tours thing. And so we had to be creative in how we recruited to get people to come and go to the schools, but we also were very specific about where we took teachers. We were taking teachers to schools that had the highest vacancy rate. So we went for our elementary buildings, we went to DPW, we went to King. We'd always hit the middle level. The middle level is one of the hardest spots to fill, in addition to DPW. The high school retention rate has really turned around the last few years under a very competent, stable leadership team where we don't have people leaving like we did several years ago, which is fantastic.
Another targeted approach that we've taken is with the use of the teacher vacancy grant, having a sign-on bonus for new teachers, right? And that's been really successful. We've got a fake check that you can kind of see in some of the Tiger Tour pictures, and we bring that to our recruitment fairs and really highlight that we're investing in you, right? And the idea is over the next 3 years, as you gain tenure, you get this sign-on bonus. So we want you to be a tenured teacher with us. I can't tell you how many different school districts kind of came through our booth and looked at us and were really jealous of that idea, I guess you could say. I think we're, if not the highest for teachers for $3,000 bonus in our area. I think that's accurate. We also really targeted the positions that we needed the most support in with referral bonuses. So you see a $250 for a teacher. So if you refer a teacher, $500 bonus for a special education teacher or a UMS teacher. And then recently we upped that to $500 bonus for SPED at DPW 6th grade center, where we saw just a need for our middle level teachers, and we wanted to make sure that if others know of a teacher and they're interested, that they can refer and get that money as well. Another highlight for when we were at job fairs is we read and understood that the span of the person at the fair is really quick, right? There's tons of extra people in and out. So as we were taking resumes, we were scanning them to our leaderships, our principals who had openings, and they were able to that day, within that hour, connect with that staff member or that candidate and say, hey, I heard you were at ISU. We really need you at the elementary level. And I know Thomas Payne got, I guess, 2 or 3, I believe, from just that practice, right? That immediate feedback. So that's one thing that's been really successful for us.
All right. In terms of retention, this is going back to our strategic plan goals. So we met 2 of our goals, and we almost met the 3rd one. So again, I just want to talk about our decrease of vacant positions from 2024 to 2025, that we had that 30% decrease. The goal that we did not meet was that middle column. So our goal was 83%. We fell short at 82.1. And so this is retention of all staff. So we also have to consider all staff, meaning our lunchroom supervisors, our TAs, our support staff, crossing guards. We see turnover in those positions every year because people are looking for more full-time hours, year-round work, and that's why we target that job fair in the summer for our support staff positions. And so we're still going to try to reach to that 83%, but it is challenging to hit that. But we hit our goal. Our goal was the 7%, or it was 87% last year. Our goal was to raise it 1%. We're at 88.2. And we're going to try to continue to raise it another year. And then finally, I know that we took a long time, but again, we're just really excited to talk about the great things going on in the district. And so another initiative that we had this year, in addition to our unsung heroes, because our unsung heroes recognize our support staff that are quietly doing work behind the scenes and maybe don't get recognized as much as other staff members. But our Staff Excellence Awards are peer nominated and can be any position in the district. And so you're able to see really a great kind of reflection of the district. There were a lot of the school improvement team members that were here tonight. They're in these pictures. Greg Delgadillo, Christina Sloan is in the pictures. And you'll see people that you recognize quite a bit just from being around for a while. I know that they talked about Kathleen Carter, the Tier 1 implementation. We actually even have a husband and a wife in different pictures that were nominated by their peers. And so people got really emotional. This was where I'd also encourage you to look at the Facebook page when they were surprised and we read what the nominators said about them, and there were tears. And so what we'd like to do next year is to, at the beginning of one of the board meetings, is to recognize like the 3 people at a time, just very briefly, so that we can do it more timely rather than in May when things are really busy, or June, having everybody come together. It makes it a little bit more overwhelming, and we'd like to be able to take their pictures and display them in a prominent place in the district to recognize their contributions to the school district. And we'll stop there. We could definitely go on. We can tell you that we may have worn a huge inflatable tiger to job fairs to get people to come and walking around. And it is cutthroat out there when you're recruiting teachers. So,
Any questions for our human resources team? Thank you very much. This is great news.
yeah.
Are you going to wear the inflatable tiger here?
It's really funny. So on opening
I'll
days.
tell you what, I'll wear it if we sign that contract soon.
Yes, I know, right? That would be funny. That'd be a good incentive. Yeah, on opening days, it's also something really special that we talk about with potential recruits. We show pictures from opening day. And if you haven't been to the opening day ceremonies, I really encourage you to do that. It's so special to bring all staff together in the gym, having the cheerleaders do a cheer, the music department playing, the band welcoming people in. In the past 4 or 5 years, we've now had dress-up days. So like in themes that people are coming in, we've had an inflatable theme. And so you get to see some really, when staff are coming back, we want them to be pumped about the new school year, not sad that summer is ending. So I know, right?
Right. Let's call for questions. All right, thanks
Okay,
again.
Thanks.
Our last administrative report of the evening is for the tentative 26-27 budgets.
Good evening. I know you're super excited for the tentative budget at this hour. I have to say, Dr. Franklin does have a great department, but I can't let it go without saying that mine might beat hers. So I might have the best. So tonight I am presenting to you another very tentative budget for fiscal year 27. And at some point you might question, like, why am I bringing such a tentative budget? And due to board policy, the tentative budget is brought to you every year in June. So we can have a budget in place to operate when our new fiscal year starts July 1. The final budget will be brought to you in September. And so you'll see quite a few changes from then. This is really just part of board policy and something we do every year to get the fiscal year started. In your packet, you're going to have the following items. You'll see the tentative budget summary, the tentative budget changes for the Ed Fund, and budget assumptions. And I'm going to walk you through some of the highlights tonight. This year is a little different because of our ongoing contract negotiations. You're not going to see any increases to the salary or benefits in your expenditures. And this is on top of the regular unknowns that we might typically face with the tentative budget. So we're still receiving information, and the final budget numbers will be very different in September once we settle the contract and get more updated and finalized information. You're also going to see some unknowns in revenue. I know I say this every year, but there's still some unknowns in revenue. We will see an increase in EBF. The state did just approve their budget. Especially, we're hoping to see a bigger change in EBF if we remain Tier 1. But we are anticipating some of the other state funding to either decrease or remain flat for the mandated categoricals, which includes things like transportation and special ed. So our levy numbers might have to change towards the final budget to kind of cover some of those for the mandated categoricals. I did do a 1.49 million increase for property tax in revenue. We overstated the revenue for property taxes last year, but we're still seeing an increase due to the TIF 4 that expired in December of 2025. So that's kind of comes on and it looks like new property, and then it will hit our EAV the following year. So we'll have more definitive numbers for you at the final budget. I want to make sure that you realize, though, that the property tax revenue is received in portions of 2 tax levy cycles. We levy and then we get a portion in June and then we get another part in September, so it hits in 2 fiscal years. And our property taxes account for approximately 70% of our revenue. So it's very important when we do the balloon levy and things like that, that we try to capture all of the possible revenue to make sure that we can keep our finances stable. I did include an increase to $600,000 to our state evidence-based funding. Again, we're hoping that we become Tier 1 or stay Tier 1, and we'll see an increase in that revenue, and so that will be adjusted at your final budget meeting. All other mandated categoricals in the state are projected to have a slight increase, but with our transportation costs increasing and special ed, we're expecting to see a little bit of a slight decrease over expenditures over revenue. And that will be reviewed further for your final budget as well. The district also received revenue in FY27. We're going to be receiving revenue for our energy incentives and credits for the geothermal project at the 6th grade center. This is a one-time only revenue allocation, and that's why it's remaining flat, because we've seen revenue from prior years, and so there's no increase for revenue on that. As for expenditures, this is a snapshot and a moment of time. Even though we've worked really hard in negotiations and the budget, we've been working really hard on where our numbers could be. We cannot predict where we're going to end up. And so this also impacts other employee groups as well when it comes to salaries. That's why we haven't brought to you our clerical staff and administration increases, because we need to settle the contract with our union. And due to guidance from prior CFO, we are not reflecting any increases to salaries or benefits until we're finished negotiating. You will see an increase to our food service contract. We're entering our second extension with an option to extend for 2 more years. Our contract is written right now that we see it as an increase of CPI, which is 2.7% for FY27. There's also 2 more years of our contract with the city of Urbana for our SROs, their school resource officers. They are also in the middle of negotiations, and so I'm putting in my placeholder. Last year it was about $14,000 that we put in for the budget, and so I'm just putting a placeholder so you can see that there will be an increase of $20,000, and that will be updated for your final budget as well. And there has been a lot of communication with the Park District, as always, for the district's portion of the indoor aquatic center. It is currently estimated to be the same as the prior year for FY26. The finalized numbers will be reflected in the final budget, and I just kind of want to hit that we are entering our 3rd year of a 3-year agreement with the Park District, so you'll be hearing me talk more about the indoor aquatic center. And then I know that this is, again, I keep on saying tentative, and it'll be more finalized at the final budget, but I'll bring this back to you for approval at the June 16th meeting. so we can start the new fiscal year starting July 1. Do you have any questions? I
Board
know it's a
members, any
lot,
questions?
and it's kind of late.
Yeah. This is even more tentative than typical years because we don't have any idea what our expenses are going to be.
So what if we don't stay at tier 1?
So the state has it set up to where we remain, like they hold us harmless. So we'll see the same increase. And even as a tier 2, we will see some sort of increase in our funding. So I feel pretty confident between our property tax revenue and our EBF that the revenue side is pretty accurate.
Good question. Anyone else? So yeah, we'll vote on this next time around. So if you have any questions between now and next week, to reach out to Marianne and her staff, or bring your question in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks everybody. We do have an set of action items that we will vote on individually. First up is 10.1 is a long list of personal items that's typical for the end of the school year. Sure.
Were we not going to do adult ed?
Oh, you're right. Thank you, adult ed. I neglected.
I believe typically Shauna just provides you the information, and then so with
That it's here.
it is, yes. So please review that. If you, again, theirs is also even more tentative because of not having any of the numbers for increase in salaries, but that will also be approved at the June 16th. Sorry, thank you for that.
Thanks for that reminder. Again, first up is 10.1, our personal items that are published in our agenda. A long list of personal items is typical for the end of the school year. Is there a motion for the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Any questions, comments, discussion? Roll call, please.
Member Cheryl,
Yes.
Member Hickson,
Yes.
Member Marabou,
Yes.
Member Jones.
Yes.
Member Langendorf, yes. Vice President Baxley.
Yes.
President Pulowski.
Yes. 10.2 is a resolution authorizing the sale or disposal of property in accordance with state law. This includes this time around a tap and stove, a refrigerator, an audio meter, laptops, a variety of audio materials from UECS, library books from Thomas Paine, Early Childhood, DPW, and King School. Is there a motion for the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Any further questions, comments, discussion? Roll call, please.
Member Hickson,
Yes.
Member Marabou,
Yes.
Member Jones.
Yes.
Member Langendorf, yes. Vice President Baxley.
Yes.
President Pulowski.
Yes.
Member Cheryl.
Yes.
Next up is our diligent agreement. This is annual subscription fee to the tune of $9,500 so that we can share documents with the public. Do we want to provide context, Lori, or?
So you got, I sent a nice, Lori put together a really nice little update for you guys, an overview, in response to a couple questions we received, so.
One of was said last time when it was presented was that Champaign used it, and before that I looked at Champaign and I couldn't find it. This time I went and I was able to find all the different documents under the agenda. It was very helpful.
It's a nice organizational tool.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion for the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Any further questions, comments, or discussion? Roll call.
Member Marabou,
Yes.
Member Jones.
Yes.
Member Langendorf, yes. Vice President Baxley.
Yes.
President Pulowski.
Yes.
Member Cheryl.
Yes.
Member Hickson.
Yes.
Motion passes. 10.4 is a request for chiller equipment for Urbana High School. This is utilization of health, life, safety funds, securing a replacement unit, and proceed with the bidding process. So the request is for the project cost not exceed $500,000. This isn't that old, is it? Or am I
It
just?
is, yeah, it's fairly old.
Okay, I remember that.
It's our last oldest one in the
Okay.
high school, and it's one that we had planned on swapping out in a couple years.
Oh, so this isn't the one in the kitchen then that we replaced when that was refurbished? Oh, okay.
Randy
I-
has
I do have more context to this, yeah. Well, first I want to give a shout out to Angie's crew, they are good. Mary Ann's crew is also good. John's technology people are okay. However, the facilities department, warehouse, facilities, grounds, and custodians are by far the best.
I'm team facilities.
Okay.
Sorry.
And nobody can go after me except Dr. Every Tatum and change that. So the high school chiller failed on Friday, the 22nd. Following inspection and evaluation, service techs and engineers, we were informed that the existing chiller is no longer repairable and must be replaced. What we had originally budgeted in, or yeah, I guess tentatively budgeted in our 10-year life safety was about $335,000, I think, for this chiller. And so I, knowing that it would be, or figuring it'd be more than that, bumped it up to $500,000. And then in this memo I sent to you guys, it said at this time, the exact project pricing is still to be finalized. And I got those finalized numbers today, and the actual cost of the chiller is $532,000 with a 10% contingency fund, and a 10% architectural and engineering fees puts us at $638,400. So I missed that guesstimate by a little bit. So I would like to ask for that much money to be put towards the cost of a new chiller for the high school. What we would also, by moving forward this quickly, we would purchase a unit that's already in stock. It would be the exact tonnage that we need, and have everything that we will need for, and there are some in stock. And then we would also, some of the added cost to this is also moving the chiller from outside the building to the roof, and just to make the building conditions a little bit better. Right now there's a pretty good vibration in the building in that area from this chiller, so it'll take that out of the building, be a much better setup in there. So I'm asking for $638,400 for that.
All right, so is there a motion to bid out this project to not exceed $638,400?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further questions, comments, or discussion? Again, roll call vote is in order.
Member Jones,
Yes.
Member Langendorf, yes. Vice President Baxley,
Yes.
President Pulowski.
Yes.
Member Cheryl,
Yes.
Member Hickson,
Yes.
Member Marabou.
Yes.
Last item of our action items is the young adult house. Provide context for the public, Randy?
Yep, the district held mandatory bid opening for the young adult home on May 20th. No contractors attended the meeting. In an effort to encourage participation and obtain bids for the project, the district waived the mandatory pre-bid requirement and reopened the opportunity for submissions on the 27th of May. Despite these efforts, the district still did not receive any bids or proposals for the project. After discussing the matter with the district's legal counsel, Howard Metz, we're advised that the board may still proceed through the emergency exceptions process allowed under the district's purchasing and procurement guidelines. This process would require approval by 3/4 majority of the board. The purpose of requesting this exception is to allow the district to move forward with the project timeline and continue pursuing qualified contractors or construction partners who may be willing and able to meet the district expectations and project requirements of the young adult home. Given the lack of bid participation despite multiple attempts by the district, Administration believes this request is necessary to avoid further delays that could impact programming, student services, and project cost and scheduling. Approval of the emergency exception permit would permit the district to directly engage with interested contractors, negotiate services, and explore alternative delivery methods while still maintaining transparency and physical responsibility. The district would continue to document all efforts, outreach efforts, contractor communications, estimated cost, and recommendations through the process, and would provide updates to the board provide updates to the board as information becomes available. We respectfully request the board's consideration for approval of the emergency exception process so so the district may continue to move forward with this important project.
Any questions for Randy real quick?
Yeah, I just have a question. What the, I think I gleaned some of that, what the emergency exception process is, but how would we then determine to get somebody, as soon as we need them? I mean, how does the process go?
We would just reach out to whoever we think can do the house and ask them to just do it. Basically, it's just a simple, are you able to do it? Can you do it in our within our specs? Can you do it within our timeline?
Mhm.
And then if they're able to, then we'll start the process.
And then it's presented to the board, and that's when you need the 3/4 majority?
We
then?
need 3/4 today to go forward
Okay,
with this.
it's today they,
Yeah,
okay.
it's the emergency authorization takes 3/4.
Are you going to go to multiple companies or go to just one that you prefer, or?
I've reached out to a couple already, so this could possibly be coming.
Yeah.
To be ready, and everybody that received a bid packet, I'm also going to reach back out to, and then
Go from there.
Yep.
Thanks.
All right. Is there? Go ahead.
Sherry emailed earlier. You want me to respond to your question about the location?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's separate.
Yes. Well, we're still on the discussion, right? Okay. Sherry wanted to know, I don't know, she had an inquiry from somebody from the high school, I'm assuming, about the location. And so I reached out to Damien from BLDD, and based on our walkthrough with them several weeks ago, it's been now, when we walked the site, when we were talking to them about making sure that wherever we put the home, it would not interfere with the other projects that would be happening there on Iowa Street. So it was decided at that time that the northwest corner of the site, just south of Washington Street, where Ray Street runs into the high school campus, would be the preferred location. And then with that, the entry would likely be from the east, so from where a new parking lot would be, and would be located as part of an extension of the new parking lots. There would be new parking in the back, and there would be parking that would also be part of this home as well, but from the east.
So
Not
not
in
from the
garden.
race, not from the
Not
race.
from the Ray Street.
Okay,
Not
thank
the
you.
entry and not the parking. Is that that was your understanding too, right,
Correct.
Randy?
Yep.
Okay, yes,
It'll be in the closest spot where we most recently tore down a house. Which
yes.
was quite a few years ago.
Off of Washington,
Yep.
Yes.
yes,
Right next to the apartment complex.
Right.
Kind of.
yes, okay.
All right. So is there a motion for the floor to authorize an emergency exemption since we didn't have any bidders on our regular bidding process?
So moved.
Second.
And a second, any further questions, comments, or discussion? Again, a roll call vote is in order.
Member Langendorf, yes. Vice President Baxley?
Yes.
President Pulowski?
Yes.
Member Cheryl?
Yes.
Member Hickson?
Yes.
Member Marabou?
Yes.
Member Jones?
Yes.
Motion passes. Over 3/4. That is it for action items this evening. There is a executive session to talk about contract negotiations after this meeting with no action taken by the board afterwards. Superintendent's report.
Okay, so I have some exciting news that we've been hearing a little bit about this, but I didn't want to share anything publicly until we had someone reach out to us and provide more information. And so Marianne and I received an email today from the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, DCEO, that we have been awarded $250,000 from the Build Illinois Bond Fund, and which is one of the committees and funds that is managed by the Illinois State Democrats. Senator Faraci has been in several spaces with me, I'd say, in the last year and a half, where we've been talking about increasing our CTE efforts. We've had discussions about the limitations of our space. I was at a Rotary meeting with him where we were talking about the needs, our capital improvement needs at the high school. So he is part of this Build Illinois Bond Fund Committee. And he nominated us for this grant, and we were notified today that we are officially getting this money, and it is only designated for capital improvements, and based on my conversations with him, he would like us to earmark it toward our future CTE improvements at Urbana High School. So very excited about that. So we just received all the documents today, and we have a person that we're going to work with through the state, and BLDD will, I have a meeting with them, Randy and I are meeting with them Thursday about the presentation that they're coming back to the board with in a couple weeks, and so I'm going to walk through those documents a little bit with them as well. So very exciting. So yay, some seed money to get the project started. I don't know how far $250,000 will go, but we'll see. Yes, every dollar is important, correct. John? Yep. And then I did want to thank our mayor again. As we mentioned this morning, we are keeping the members of the city council and the mayor's office in our thoughts and prayers at the loss of Councilwoman Bishop. So again, I also want to thank the mayor for the donation to Tiger Academy. So this weekend, the mayor hosted his second mayoral ball, and Mayor Williams took the initiative and reached out to the district around wanting to do something more for Tiger Academy. He's been over and visited, and he's aware of some of the projects and programs that we've implemented in the last couple years. We do not know the amount, so if you look at the check, that's why I included this picture. You can see that it's kind of lined through. So we are not quite sure of the amount yet because they need to settle up, you know, all of the costs and to find out what they have left from the fundraiser. But we are thankful for whatever we are able to get. No amount is too big or too small. And so I just want to thank him on behalf of the district. So Dr. Wiemelt and Domisha Nunn and I represented and accepted the check on the board's behalf. And so we want to thank the mayor again for prioritizing the partnership and being part of the future of our Urbana youth. The retirement celebration, I know a couple of you were there, so it's always a really nice end of the year celebration. And this particular group was really near and dear to me. I knew all of them very, very well and worked with a couple of them for many, many years. And so this was a special group and combined 327 years of service to Urbana School District. That is amazing. And so you can see all of their names: Tim and Carla, Maggie, Teresa, Meg, Bridget, Cindy, Susan, Don, Beth, and Dan. Just the countless number of students, we can't even count up in 327 years of service how many students and families they've helped to support. But we're sad to see them go, but very excited for them on the future. And many of them, you see how much they're smiling, but they have great plans for what they're going to do next. So we're really happy for them as well.
Are we sure that Bridget's not coming back?
No, we're pretty sure.
Okay, because
We've
it's been
tried.
like 3 years.
Yes, she's been saying it for the last 3 years. You're right. I think it's really done now. But yeah, we're really happy for her and everyone else.
Great.
And then we had a couple end of the year highlights for athletics. So as you know, our the state track and field and tennis and some other things, some of those state championships actually happened after our seniors graduate and after we end the school year. So this past weekend, Andy Leskowski for Urbana High School earned 6th place in the long jump at IHSA State Track and Field. He's one of 7 athletes in Urbana history to medal top 9 in the state. So congratulations to Andy. That's awesome. This is a great action shot, too, of him long jumping. So congratulations. And then our UHS tennis doubles team, Xander and Theo Nevins, earned sectional runners up, and they competed at state last weekend. So congratulations to all of those end of the year athletic accomplishments. Yeah, go for it.
My granddaughter, last weekend went to Kentucky, but she's going to school in Alabama, and this is her second time going to nationals.
Nice.
So she'll be going to Eugene, Oregon.
Wonderful. We have another Urbana High School grad, Tyler Carell, is also going to nationals. He went to Yankee Ridge, graduated. He graduated the year of COVID, so unfortunately he didn't get to do all the state things. But in the, what's the one where you jump over? Pole vault?
The pole vault. Pole vault.
Yes, where the bar's there.
I think they went to school together.
They did go to school together.
Okay,
Yeah.
Diamond
So
Asia Taylor,
he
yeah.
also is going to. He also is going to state too. So that's
Wonderful.
great.
I
Yeah,
gotta
for
let her
nationals,
know
yeah.
that.
Nationals
Awesome.
for NCAA. So yay. Thank you for sharing that. And then our middle school track and field team, last week, we had some award record holding state titles there. So our 200-meter state champion, Crystal, is in there. She's one of the girls holding the trophy there. She set a new state record as a 7th grader. And then our 4x100 state team, the relay team, set a new state record as well.
And Amia's my niece.
And Amia's your niece, yes. Track family there. And then we had Zuri placed in shot put, Amaya placed in shot put and discus, Gemma placed in long jump, and then the 600 meter relay team came in 3rd place. So that is a really great group of 6th and 7th graders. They are going to be amazing when they get to the high school. So hats off to them and congratulations. Summer meals. This has been being circulated, so I'm hoping this is making its rounds around the community. And so all those programs, a couple of them start next week at Dr. Williams, Urbana Middle School, and Urbana High School. That starting next Monday through Thursday will be summer meals. And then we have the program, the 2 weeks at Yankee Ridge, and then the high school and Thomas Paine transition program. So we'll be offering summer meals throughout the summer at different places. So I know a lot of our families, a lot of our administrators talked about transportation tonight. So hopefully families are able to navigate and get to some of these locations since it isn't offered at all of our schools, but just the schools where we have programming. But the meals are free. You don't have to register. Anyone under 18 can eat. And on behalf of Urbana Park District, they've asked us to share some of their strategic planning information. So they are embarking on their next strategic plan. And we shared this survey with our parents and families before they left. And so we'll share it for them one more time. There's just a really short few questions. I went in and looked at it. It's just asking about people's experiences with the parks, the programs, some of the green spaces, and they're just looking for feedback. So this is one of their early engagement opportunities. So we'll share this link out again. You guys, of course, please fill it out. So anybody, they want information from anyone who is willing and able to take the survey. And a document will be placed on their website with the results after July 1st. And that is it.
Great. Okay, thank you. There was a set of 3 FOIAs that were all processes published in our agenda. At this point, the chair would entertain a motion after a 5 to 10 minute recess to enter closed session for the purpose of discussing negotiations with the teachers union, and there will be no action taken by the board after the closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Vice President Baxley.
Yes.
President Pulowski.
Yes.
Member Cheryl.
Yes.
Member Hickson.
Yes.
Member Marabou.
Yes.
Member Jones.
Yes.
Member Langendorf, yes.
Yeah.